both in control against Artosis debate and keep going back and forth.
That'll be easy.
Or feel stabilized. Wanna turn up the heat? We gotta move.
What is up, everyone? What a great start to the show here. We're going swimmingly for everyone watching on the VOD. There were no problems whatsoever. It's January 19th, 2012. Welcome to State of the Game, episode 65, or 60.5, not 65. Before we get to that, though, we got to talk to everyone about how they've been and introduce everyone as well. Sean, how's it going, man? We had a big break. What have you been up to?
Oh, it's been a very unbelievably awesome break. I think the biggest thing I did was read a lot of the Dresden Files. I think I plowed through about 6 of them.
Nice.
That series is so good.
How many books?
Oh my god!
How many books are there in that series? You're
It's like
always
13
talking
or
about it.
12 or something.
13 right now, and he's shooting for somewhere between 20 and 26 in the complete series.
Gotcha. All right. Of course, Jeff and Control Robinson. How's it going, man? How was your break?
Pretty good. Just, the tournament season is long and it's pretty grueling, so it was nice to go see family. I haven't seen my mom in months. And I got to socialize Barrison with 2 other English bulldogs and a whole bunch of other dogs, so he kind of learned what it's like to be a dog. Pretty cool.
Nice. Well, we'll get to your home story, story, so to speak, because you did go over there with Steven, but you got to introduce the other 2 hosts. Tyler, how was your break, man? What you been up to? I know you got some new internet.
Oh, man.
Because your webcam's finally working.
Yeah, I'm like 2.0 because I got new internet, so my webcam is now like fully loaded.
Yeah.
And I'm so alert, dude. Like I'm not falling asleep.
Yeah. Oh, we got to talk about the new time slot. We'll get to that as well. A lot of stuff.
It feels good, man. But I had a nice break. I took a little vacation in New York City, and that was amazing. Visited with family, and just re-energized.
Nice. I've been seeing you stream, or at least you streamed Star Wars once.
Yeah.
How's that going, man? Are you level 50 yet? Are you owning the whatever you own in that game?
No, man. I'm noob at that game. I'm pro at StarCraft though. Don't know if you knew that.
I did not. I'm not going to be a dick. Anyways, let's move on.
You want a 1v1, JP?
No, man.
Is that what this is coming to?
I don't want a 1v1.
All right.
I don't want to give you your... God, I can't not be a dick to you. We're just going to have to move on to Destiny. Destiny, how's it going, man? I'm going to be a dick again. I heard you had some fun with some porn stars over the break.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun, too. You want a 1v1, JP?
Yeah, let's 2v1 for the fuck of it. Jeff, you want to be on my team?
For the fuck of it. Yeah, I'm on your team.
All right. We'll 2v2 or something. But we got to talk about Dan's kid and why he's not here. He had a kid last week. Congratulations, Dan. There's something I got to talk about, though, and I really wish Greg was here for this. The child's name is Aria, or is it Aria? How do you pronounce it?
I mean,
whatever
Aria, but I love the idea that it would be called Area or like
we have to
volume
pronounce it
together.
whatever
To
the
be
opposite.
brutally honest, in true Artosis spirit, we just say it, and then that's what it is. And when people call it into question that that's not the pronunciation of it, what you say is, I'm fucking X, I have that power. Okay, so I'm actually looking at the name, and I think it's Araya. It's Araya, so...
Oh.
Araya. Yeah, like
Araya.
Mariah, but without the M.
Yeah,
or the H
it's
at
like
the end.
it's like a colloquial thing, It's like a streetwise name. Like there's Mariahs, there's Marias out there. This is Araya.
Interesting.
Yeah, but with Artosis, it's always a little hard because you'd be like, "This is my friend Idra and my daughter Araya." You kind of. Okay.
Well, Greg is the Godfather. You know that, right?
Is he really?
But he was asked to do it, but then he asked. He said it was in balance.
Yeah, I think. Where's the drum? But
Use them.
we needed that from you there, JP.
I think that joke's funny and how bad it is. So can I say that? I think that's the way. I like these guys that wear like the black rim glasses, the thick black rim glasses. Like they're really stupid, but they're so stupid they look good. I think that just happened.
I think that just happened is probably the best way to explain that. So Dan should be back next week. At least that's what he told me. So if he's not, then go yell at him at Twitter or something. I don't really know. But I want to talk about why this show is 60.5. If you look at the overlay that we're using, that's why it's 60.5. I wanted to come back with everything done, with new art, with new intro, new video intro, new song, and everything like that. But I've been way too busy with getting the YouTube stuff set up, with MLG stuff, so I have not had time to talk with the people who are making that. So hopefully next week I'll have it all done. But until then, you guys get to see this fucking sweet gradient that I made for the overlay, and also our sweet little logo here in the center, all done in paint.
Can you walk us through each of your pieces for this wallpaper? Like why the darker color on the left side to the lighter?
Well, I mean, I did not really have any reason to this, Jeff, but if I think about it now, you're on the dark side because you're like the dark side of State of the Game.
Yeah.
But if you think about that, Steven's on the light side, so that just doesn't make sense whatsoever.
No, it's fucked up, yeah.
Yeah, and Sean should probably be where Steven is, and then it would make sense because then it's Sean and Tyler on the light side with Steven and Jeff on the dark side. And then
maybe
kind
it's
of me in the middle.
through the juxtaposition, like the expectations are such, but then your background actually throws that all, into chaos.
Maybe so.
So it's kind of like a jazzy background. It keeps people thinking.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
It's very meta of you, JP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're planted right in the middle no matter what, because that's kind of where the awkward transition is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't want to be like Weed and have the bigger screen than everyone else, so.
What a jackass.
No.
What a jackass,
awesome.
that guy.
I love that so
I got a job at Twitch. I got a job at Twitch. So he's like, I got this big picture now. I don't know. That guy. You know what the joke of it is? He even named his son Mini Wheat just so that there was no question about who was bigger. You know what? Like shit like that.
That's why you had kids, because you can just tell them to do things, and they have to just. Well, they don't have to do anything. They actually just believe that that's the way the world is.
Yeah.
My mom was like, "You're mowing the lawn on Saturday." I'm like, well, "I guess that's what I'm doing. Cool." And nowadays, it should be like, "No, I live in LA where we just have sand."
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it came out he named his wife Kitchen Wheat. That guy and his arrogance.
Hey guys, so we are independent. We aren't LG anymore. Yeah, that happened. We left on good terms. There's no negative thing about it. The reason the show is on Thursdays now is we wanted to try to get in some more European audiences. I don't suspect the viewership will really get back to where it was until more people figure it out. But Jeff, we probably need to welcome our new European audience members, right?
Yes. Let me open.
I'm gonna let you do that. Do you need some time?
No, I can. The internet moves at a pace far and away further. Oh, this is the show notes. Where is the? Where's the thing I'm reading?
I thought you were just gonna freeball it, man. But
yeah. Okay, right. So I was originally going to perform this in Finnish. I was considering some other languages. Some of the Balkans caught my eye, perhaps Russian, but I'm just going to say it in good old English.
Mm-hmm.
And as I say this, I actually feel the Irish in me. So this is actually going to be a butchered English, but good day. No, that's Australian. Fuck. I'll just, you know what? Europeans.
Hello, Europe.
I'm off. Yeah. Europeans, we here at State of the Game care so much. I mean, to be honest with you, when we envision a continent war-torn, just people in wooden shoes and lack of electricity, the difficulties of still having dragons running rampant,
ain't that a bitch?
It's hard. And, I mean, one of the most difficult parts about this, too, is that there's not a lot of comedy in Europe. There's no real humor. I know that David Hasselhoff is doing really well, and Pee Wee Herman has a thriving career over there. But for right now, State of the Game has come. Think of us as a large woman's bosom, ready to embrace you, head betwixt both the breasts, and we will caress you. We will warm you, and we will do it at a time in the day where you don't feel like you have to stay up till 6 a.m. So what we need you to do in return is swell our numbers up to about 60,000 people so we can take over the world.
There you go. There you go. You know, I'm kind of disappointed, Jeff. You need to at least do something British. Just go for it.
The thing about me is, like, I'm actually a shit accent guy unless I do it completely on the fly. Like, if someone's like, do this accent on the go, I'll end up like, coming out Australian. So
okay.
I'll put it on the shelf. It will come out today.
Okay.
Maybe a Total Biscuit joke or two, but aside from that.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll get it from you later. Let's, you know, today, I guess we're just going to start with MLG news. Kind of go over all the topics. We got MLG, Homestory, IEM Kiev, all the players moving spots. Steel Series leaving Grubby, which I think, Destiny, you're going to want to talk the most about that. GSL, do some strat discussion towards the end. And then, of course, we'll have the user call-ins that we had on episode 60. Talk about next week's show a little bit. And then Sean's going to make a special announcement about midway through the show. So let's move on to the MLG news, as that did hit today. For those of you, I guess I'll just kind of briefly run through it. Online qualifiers into a LAN event in New York that is not open to the public. And then those players qualify for the Grand Slam, which will be open to the public, but they will also be getting, I think they're going to be filling out the groups is how it works. Information that was not released that is new right now is that the tournament in New York is going to be a double limb 32-person bracket with best of 3 and extended series. That's still there this year.
What?
Go figure.
What?
Who would have ever guessed it?
What?
Who would have ever guessed it?
Joe.
And then the seed will be random for the most part, but it's going to be based on Providence standing for 1 through 8. So the top 8 for Providence, in that order, will get those seeds for the arena. And then the first place in each of the groups will be 9th, 10th, and 11th, and so on and so forth in each group. So let's just kind of go around here, see what everyone's thoughts are so far. Jeff, I'm just going to go straight to you to start off with, though, because it wouldn't be State of Game without some bashing, because I think that's what's about to happen.
Not a whole lot of bashing. I'm really excited about the new bracket. I think when they evaluated the pass system, they found obvious loopholes about people earning a lot of points early on and then riding that out as long as they kind of get little pockets of points throughout the season. This is pretty battle, man. This is pretty gruesome, and I like that. I like that there's qualifiers and then people that place really highly are like invited, not necessarily like they're put in a position of privilege, but they're not guaranteed a position of privilege throughout. You know what I mean? They're just like it's kind of like cool. You get to compete really, you get to go do the next one. And I love that they were able to find a way to still have an open bracket because that's really important in my opinion to the sport. There's not a need for 16 of the same guys to go to each tournament and compete. There's a need for those underdog stories of people that are, maybe someone takes a dive, or, takes a chance with Vile Illusion and sends him to a tournament. He has a chance to turn some heads and do really amazing things. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. But also, I like the spectacle that is, like MLG Columbus, in my opinion, is more exciting now. It's like 2 tiers of excitement. There's the big dogs that have qualified for that badass tournament, won some cash for themselves, and are now positioned in a place to do this. But then there's also the open bracket where you can develop that story. I really like it. I think it's a healthy, happy thing. I mean, the only bashing I would do is it's so effing stupid that there's still extended series. We don't have to have that. We don't have to have that debate. What I would wish, and I think Tyler would probably agree with this too, like whether you like extended series or not, I don't know that that's the best answer for a tournament in general. Yeah. So I would have liked for them to have, in the off season, looked for a way to not stick to their guns on that. Is all I would say.
Right. Some of the other stuff, too, before we go around that I want to clarify, or not really clarify, but when the announcement first hit, people didn't even read it. They went straight to the dollar value, saw that first place was 10 grand, and they're like, well, this is bullshit. Like, I thought they did so well last year. It should have been better. We are flying 32 players out and paying for their hotel. Every player in New York will be paid for it and flown there. That is a ton of money. Guys, like that, it helps sponsors because they can actually not pay for their players to go there. They can use that for other stuff, sending it to other tournaments. It helps Koreans because a lot of the Korean teams don't have as many of the sponsors that some of these Western teams do. So we'll see a lot more Korean faces, hopefully. The other thing that I think a lot of people aren't hitting on is the fact that you can play in any tournament that you want. So there's a North American, there's a European, and there's a Korean qualifier. A Korean can play in the U.S. qualifier if he wants, but he cannot play in more than one. So if he loses in that, he's out.
That would suck if people had like 3 lives, you know.
Exactly. That's why that's in place. But it gives... It's basically if Nesty wants to play on the U.S. server and get an automatic seed, then he can do that. But the thing is, I think the fine rules is that it comes to the stipend that we'll be giving him. If you're playing on a region that you do not currently reside in, you're only given a certain amount of money, from my understanding.
$400.
I think it was 400. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're given $400, and that's it. So we won't be able to pay for your entire trip because, of course, we have a set amount of budget for everything. But anyways, I've been talking too much. Destiny, I'll go to you next for your thoughts on it, and then I'll get Tyler's thoughts, which will just be everyone else has already said everything. So,
I mean, it's kind of echoing Jeff's thoughts. I like that they still kept the open brackets, that you have a chance for, you know, the hero stories for anybody to go and make an amazing run. But then you also have like this new kind of interest created on the side, you know, where the big boys can go and qualify. I mean, pretty much everything Jeff said, I kind of agree with.
Yeah, Jeff, I think your webcam is just.
I turned it off and then back on to try to fix it. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It just looks really poor in comparison to Tyler's stunning.
But I want to, I see a few people in the chat asking, I want to explain real fast, since we're talking about extended series so much, what exactly that means.
Sure. Oh, you want me to, or I thought you were?
I mean, an extended series is basically where if you play somebody, if you're in the tournament, you play somebody in a best of 3, and they beat you or you beat them or however it goes. If you play them later on in a tournament, the score will carry over, and it'll be like a larger number of games that you have to play total. Like if you play a best of 3 against somebody and they beat you 2-0, and then you have to play them again in the tournament in another best of 3, it becomes a best of 5 where they start up 2-0 on you, right? That's my understanding of it.
Yes.
Best of 7.
That is correct. It turns into a best
Oh,
of
it
7.
turns into a best of 7? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's extended series. I told you guys it probably wasn't going to be leaving. If you didn't believe me, well, hopefully now you do, that it's here to stay.
JP, is that like, did the owner of MLG create that, and everyone's just really afraid to tell him it's a terrible idea, or is it just?
No. If you're looking for, I guess, a person to pin it to, which I'm not saying that it's a bad thing whatsoever, but John Nelson is the commissioner of the league, and that was his rule.
John Nelson.
John Nelson.
That is the full name.
That's his name.
Give an address and phone number there too while we're.
Why is that funny?
Because just say, well, you know, that's what the league decided. Like, his name is John Nelson.
Oh, well, he's the commissioner. I'm sorry, that's his role.
His wife's name is Deborah Nelson.
No, I don't know.
Oh my God, it's not that bad a rule.
I don't know his wife's name, but it's not Deborah. Anyway.
John Nelson. All right.
So John Nelson. I'm sorry. Oh God, I can already see the A message lining up. I'll read that after the show. Tyler, what are your thoughts on the 2012 announcement thus far?
Look, man, I feel like I have some inside info. I need to explain to people why we still have extended series in 2012.
Right,
here we go.
This is what happened.
This is like the perfect thing to start the year off with. It's like
yeah, I mean,
an extended series discussion. We've extended it to 2012. So this is what happened.
Wow.
MLG went up against MLG went up against the community in Halo and said, hey, we should do extended series, and MLG won. Community was like, okay, we'll do extended series, and that was Halo. And then MLG had to fight against the community a second time, except this time it was StarCraft 2. But it was an extended series, so MLG was already up 2-0. And even though StarCraft 2 was better, and they had the right idea, they couldn't make up the huge deficit of an extended series. So MLG closed out the series, and now we're stuck with extended series for the rest of our days.
There you go. Thank you, Tyler.
Damn it.
Thank you, Tyler, for that.
That's what happened.
That's like Inception shit right there.
It is.
Yeah.
That's Tyler's the only one that could figure that out, man. He's the super being here. Sean, your thoughts on the announcements?
it helps to bridge the story gap between the tournaments, which was the biggest problem that I think the entire tournament seasons had in 2011. There was this odd disjointedness where there were players that weren't quite getting the opportunity to, I would say, rise to the top. They would show up at the top and then disappear completely. Honestly, one of my favorite storylines of all of that year was when Naniwa won the first MLG event and said, I don't care about winning this one. I want to win the big one at the end of the year. And then he was in the finals at that one at the end of the year. And that was actually a story arc. But with too much distance between there, I mean, you think about the way that those tournaments went, especially from a caster's point of view, to say something like, oh man, MVP, he won the last event, and he's not here this one. Or, I don't know, Naniwa won the last event. Let's see if he can do it this time. Oh, he didn't. And then, like, the top three would drop out pretty quickly. 3 other players would win. And it's not, trying to take anything away from the players who won, but it's more of just this problem when you have too few events of weight happening. So I like the idea of, like, here's qualifiers. You can gobble up those rank points. So that way there's a player who might pop in there who maybe the audience doesn't know that much about, but there's a little story there that you have the threads of that you can work with as a commentator. You can say something like, oh yeah, this is a guy, he's actually won 4 minor qualifiers. No one's ever done that. In fact, the only other person to come close is 1 gold and 1 silver in the qualifiers. So to win 4 is a tough feat, which is why he has the 8th ranked seed points. That makes for a much more interesting tournament viewing experience.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the games being good or the format being good. It's about the players and who they are on their journey there. So I think that the format really, really allows for that well, especially by incorporating the rank points in there.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Yeah.
Dude, I think the arena thing is going to be awesome because
yeah, man, it's going to be stacked.
This is what I like about it: the no live audience, which obviously you can't have every event like that.
Jesus,
and you want
Tyler.
your major events to have a live audience.
That's what I
but,
like. No scrubs there watching over my shoulder.
Yeah, but everyone loves Homestory Cup, man. There's no live audience. Like, there's something to that. There's something to an event where there's no live audience and you get the players just with themselves, and then you can have a little bit of different atmosphere. I'm not saying the MLG events are going to be kind of the casual atmosphere that Homestory Cup is, but I think players will be able to focus better, stay more relaxed, and get more rest between matches, that kind of stuff.
Should be higher production, too, I would imagine.
Yeah, higher production. It's just so many problems that you have to deal with just because the massive number of people at an event are not going to be there anymore. So I think these are going to be pretty cool, and it's obviously necessary to still have the major live events, and we'll get those in too.
Let me just say this. If Sundance is listening,
I'm sure he is.
No excuse if there's not enough chairs at these arena events. If people can't sit,
we'll see. I mean,
no excuse.
I know where it's being held, and it's gonna be rough, man.
Every player needs a chair with their name on the back of it, like on a movie.
That's gonna be my esports invention. Is like the backpack that carries your keyboard also turns into a chair. Like it's gonna have like fold out legs. You can fucking sit on your backpack everywhere.
Yeah. I will say
Sundance.
I will say the fact that well, 2 things: the player list that is being invited to the qualifiers is basically the best representation of StarCraft 2 players ever, in terms of how many people are being invited to it and who's being invited to it.
Players are invited to qualifiers. They don't play.
Yeah. So they're
like
being...
the NA qualifier for an arena is not a 256-man sign-up bracket. It's an invitational.
Correct. They will be chosen. Hopefully that's not like unreleased info that I just fucked up, but they yes, it might have been.
How many in each of those qualifiers? How many people were playing again? Is it?
I don't think there's a set number.
Infinite invites?
Yes, I would say.
Wow, that's you know what that is? That's like not being picked on a kickball team that literally has no cap on player.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
They're like, hey, what about me? They're like,
There's like 137 people invited, and you're not on the list, and it's like, what? This guy's got a buy. I can't even like. I don't know.
Did you just pull that number out of your ass, by the way?
You're gonna have the shittiest
No,
job.
It's on the post.
Because you're literally gonna have no joke. You're gonna have like 600 people, angrily messaging you saying,
Well, they're
"I
not gonna
just hit
message
number
me.
1 platinum,
Hold on,
you
hold on.
jackass."
Jeff, you know who they're going to message?
Is it that?
It's John Nelson.
John Nelson. There it is, full circle. You fucking create extended series, you have to answer to the internet. Everyone's pissed.
It's 139 invited players is what it is.
Really?
Yeah.
139?
Yeah.
139.
Based on 2011 performance in StarCraft 2.
How did they arrive at that number? I'm just curious.
Just the number that we looked at everyone last year, and that's the number we came to, man.
That's the MLG number, is 139.
That's the number
Right,
we're going
so
with.
people who didn't participate at all in 2011. in MLG.
No, this is not specific to MLG. This is every tournament in 2011.
Okay.
So basically,
John Nelson.
John Nelson. So
Are they
yeah,
gonna do like the NASL post where they release a post explaining why they invited every single player and why they didn't invite certain players? Or
no.
okay.
So the brackets can be since players can choose what bracket they want to play in, the bracket can be as big as 139 if everyone wants to play in Korea. But no one's gonna. I mean, the North Americans want to get into the tournament, so they're not gonna play in Korea. So,
Unless they think all the Koreans are gonna try to play that.
exactly. So you have to metagame it and figure out which.
That is.
Oh my goodness.
Some rock,
Yes,
paper,
I'll tell you
scissors shit.
The two dumb pieces of shit that pick the Korean qualifier to try to qualify for.
This is going to be like WCG, where there are those two guys who just showed up to like Midnight Racer 7 that was somehow at WCG, and they're the only two people who showed up and got 10 grand and 5 grand respectively, and they didn't know what to do with the third place prize of 2,000, so I think they just split it among the two of them, and then they both got to go to the grand finals. I sincerely hope that's what like the Korean qualifier is like. It's just two, like the 138th and 139th invite are like, fuck it, I want to play against an ST, and apparently they're 8, and they just sign up and play, and they win. I would be
awesome.
I love this system because it's so
good.
much
So you're,
like
you're developing those interesting storylines. That
yes, the
could
story.
otherwise-
There
you go.
Well, both the players who showed up for the Korean
So, yeah,
qualifier are here.
that was public info. I don't know why everyone's like shocked by that. Apparently, it
Do you
wasn't.
need do you need parental consent if you're a minor for the MLG travel stipends?
Yeah.
Like,
You do.
Yeah, you do.
okay.
Parental blood as well.
Yeah. Yep.
I think John Nelson should do a John Nelson shortlist too for like 140 through 149, and what they could do in 2013 to really step up their game and get that invite.
Yeah. He's listening right now. I'll get his thoughts on that in just a couple seconds.
So is it fair to say that every other tournament in the world is a qualifier for MLG now?
What were like the?
It might be.
I want to know who decided. Like who went through and invited people. Like this is like a huge cast.
It's what it. Yeah.
It
No.
must have been a daunting.
You know,
job to go
Steven,
through every...
I think you know the answer to that question on who it was. John
John
Nelson. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Holy shit! This is like Atlas Shrugged type of stuff going on here.
I mean, to be honest, it was MLG as a whole because I was also involved in that. There were 3 or 4 other names that were also involved in choosing who was invited. But
The only one you're going to hear about is John Nelson.
yeah, John Nelson.
Is there an MLG appeals court for the people that were not selected? Is there a
Yeah.
way that they can?
Yeah. You know who's the head of that, Jeff?
John Nelson.
Sundance Steve Giovanni.
Okay, so
we hit the top of the pyramid. We did it.
Oh,
So,
God.
player number 140. Are you
Yeah.
basically saying to that guy?
There is no that player does not exist.
No,
That's
there's
the rest
player
of the
number
world.
140.
That's
Yeah,
the rest
we
of the
don't know
world.
who he is. He's not
Players,
identified.
JP.
Do what?
Who are those?
That seems to be like-
are players 140 to 145. Are they the like enrichment players who contribute to the community, and you're going to give them a nod?
They
I
don't
want these
exist.
We need you to leak. Yeah, we need that. Needs to be the next
Hold
thing
on,
that
hold on.
leaks on Reddit. Is that
That-
list of like the 140 through 149?
Before we go on further, how many is there more than 139 players
that play
in,
StarCraft 2? Yes.
hold on, no, on a professional level in North America, in Taiwan, Korea, and in Europe that you would want to see at a tournament? Count them, Jeff, right now.
Okay, hang on. Artosis.
Oh God.
I feel like if you were to go to the Korea Grandmaster ladder, you could find 200 players that would be a better suit than like 70 of the players on the 139 list.
Oh, don't
Oh,
start
Jesus.
that.
Oh,
I'm just putting that out there. I mean, I don't know.
200 grandmasters in Korea is like 20 people with 10 accounts each.
Yeah, that's actually true.
To be fair, though, I beat Sang Ho on the Korean ladder. Therefore, I feel like I'm actually in the top 25 of the world.
There you go.
So.
There you go, Jeff. No one will actually be given a number, so they'll be a part of the 139.
Can I make a request? Can we actually do like a ball drawing for the players where they have the spinny, jumbly ball thing, and they like Destiny, Steve Bono, and he's like, yay! And he like runs forward, and he's in the qualifier.
It's funny that you came up with that because that was one of our ideas as well. So we'll see.
When you say our ideas, you really mean John Nelson, right?
Yeah, John Nelson. Actually, to be honest, it was his initially idea. But anyways, John is really good. The best part about this,
players to some stadium, and you could do like a bingo, and then like you see the people hitting the bingo on their cards, and they go up one at a time. There are like 11 people left at the end who didn't make the cut.
There you go. The best part about this is that I forgot what it was.
Wow.
Oh, no. I have a meeting with John Nelson an hour after State of the Game goes off there. So,
that's good.
Yeah, that'll be a fun meeting where I'll probably
we'll still be friends, I promise.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, the other part that I didn't get to because we stuck on the 139 players. The players will be in New York, and the content that will come out of that, I mean, there's not an audience like Tyler was speaking to, so we can do a bunch of like pre-game interviews. We can record stuff with the top 8 from that tournament and do a huge amount of B-roll content for the Grand Slam in Columbus. So it's, as a producer and someone involved in a lot of the production of MLG, it's going to be incredible with that. And I think once you guys see the list of the qualifiers, it's going to be even more exciting for a lot of those players out there. So let's do a quick... Actually, I'm not running commercials this episode. Fuck it. I don't want to mess with the audience.
God, you're so indie, man.
We're not fucking doing commercials. We're not doing commercials. Let's roll on to Homestory Cup. Jeff, how was your first experience across the pond?
First and foremost, huge shout out to the Homestory crew, Take, and the ESL guys that kind of put on the production there. There is something to be said for German efficiency. Holy shit. I felt like I was in a simultaneous Die Hard movie and a Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie at the same time with the way they ran that place, and it was just amazing. They did just such a phenomenal job. Big shout out to the fans there. There's people inside the pub below Homestory Cup drinking for 4 days straight. And then when we went out to the club, there was people there as well. Just really welcoming, awesome fans, and they really wanted to arm wrestle me, so I think I brought arm wrestling to Germany. One guy actually dragged his elbow across like a nail on the table, and he came up to me in a very awkward German. He was like, "Look, you did this to me," and there's like blood gushing down his arm, and I was like, I'm really sorry. And it's like, "Oh no, it's fine." And I was like, "Oh, okay." That was a good time. The tournament itself was amazing. There's not. I mean, I just hope the feeling of Homestory Cup was conveyed through the stream because we had a blast. Like, there was really important matches being played, but everyone was just kind of relaxed and supportive. Like, MC beats JYP and gets up and hugs him. You know, like, they're all friends and stuff like that. It was just a really cool feeling. So to be a part of that, to get to cast on a big couch with the Rotterdam duo and the Bitterdam duo. In between matches, to be talking with Too Good, Carmack was hanging out, a bunch of other European personalities that I don't get to see as much because I mostly just do MLG events and domestic stuff. It was just an amazing opportunity for me, so I'm just so thankful, amazingly happy with it, and I had a blast. So I don't know. I mean, a lot of people were in the chat were referencing my story about the kebab. That was terrifying. I mean,
wait, what? Can you tell that story for?
Well, yeah, just real quickly, like, it's illegal to sell food after, like, the stores close in Dusseldorf, Germany, apparently, because they can't tax that food.
Yeah.
So the guy was sitting outside his shop, and Sock, myself, Hasuabs, and I think Delphi were there. We were hungry and drunk, so we were, like, trying to look for food. And this guy's at the store, like, you know, like, real classic. He's like, "You guys want fucking kebabs?" Yeah. "I got kebabs." "How much you got?" How much? "Yeah? You want 2? Sure. Here you go. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here." And we like had to scurry off. after buying these kebabs, I felt like we just bought a bag of weed or something like that. And it was actually just food, which was funny. And then later someone in chat told me that actually sometimes they use like questionable meat for that late night kebab. So I'm still alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had an amazing time. Homestory Cup was amazing. And it was cool hanging out with Steven. Turns out he's the best fucking dealer I've ever seen in my life.
Well, we'll get to Steven's poker play in a second. I want to talk to you a little bit more about Homestory Cup, specifically your win over Thorzane and how important that was to you to take that win over such a player like Thorzane. Yeah,
well, I mean, the match didn't mean anything, and a lot of people were really quick to point that out. So I'm not looking at this match as like, oh my god, I took out Thorzane at the end of a TSL, or he was playing for an MLG berth, that kind of stuff. It wasn't anything like that. But at the end of the day, we're both competitive players. He really wanted to win. I really wanted to win. And I was able to execute strategies and play them fairly well and beat him in a 3-game set. And for me, that actually meant a lot, because Thorzane, whether he's playing pretty hard or he's not, he's a fucking good player. In my opinion, he's one of the best. And it's not like by winning this match I think I'm anywhere near as good as him or better than him, but I do feel like I have the ability to play at that level. So it was just kind of a confidence booster for me. It was a match where I said, okay, I can do it, and I know that I can. And it was nice, too, because Nurchio and Sock had one game where they blew me out of the water, but then they both had one game where a couple of different decisions, and I actually take the win there, too. So overall, it wasn't like a tournament that I'm going to chalk up as one of my favorites in terms of results, because it simply is not. It's still not where I want to be, but it's a nice way to start the year coming off of vacation.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's talk to Steven. How was your poker play over in Germany?
I had a lot of fun. It was pretty nasty, but it was a lot of fun. Getting to play with everybody and hanging out and everything.
What I mean, comparing that tournament for you to, you've been to many MLGs before. What was that tournament like for the first? I mean, was that your first time kind of going overseas?
Yeah. Aside from being in Korea before, yeah, it was my first time in Europe.
So, how was the tournament as a whole, and also Europe for you?
I mean, everything Jeff said. I mean, pretty much. I actually commented on this over there. The most fascinating part about that tournament, I don't know how much you could gather from the pictures, was that nobody tripped over a cord. Like, there were cords like all over the place for the cameras and stuff. I don't know if you guys have ever worked on like production scenes or anything, or like setting like electronics up. It's impossible. Like even in your own room, not to trip over like a stray USB cord, but like nobody. There were 32 people running around the place the whole time, and nobody tripped over it. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, in terms of like taking care of the players, like I think Homestory Cup probably has one of the best reps for that. You know, they always get you for your games, and the casting between all the players was awesome, and getting to meet and see everybody was really cool. 2GD is probably the funniest guy I've ever seen in my life. I'm really happy that I got to meet him. I'd never even heard of him before that tournament. And, yeah. Rotterdam was also really cool in person. And Dennis is really, really nice. He's a really cool dude.
JP, I forgot. You actually forgot to mention one of the hosts for this episode, State of the Game. Slasher via Twitter.
Yeah. No, see, I actually wanted to cut into that right now. So Slasher, now unemployed from MLG, is quoting us as saying, not talking about MLG booking over the Asus ROG assembly tournament that is happening. I believe, is it the arena that's booking over that, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah. It's mentioned. Let's go on with the show. I don't know what else he wants us to talk about that. It was already set in stone. We tried our best to reach out to as many organizations as possible. We missed one. It's going to happen. There's a billion tournaments out there. I don't know really what else he wants us to say about that. I'll leave the floor open to you guys if you want to say anything about that.
I think Slasher wants you to follow him on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's at Slasher.
Yeah. That's
his and for the record, Rod is actually short for Rodwin, which is actually his first name.
Is it?
I thought it was Rodwin.
Yeah.
I think it's
Rodwin. It's
Is it
Rodwin? Yeah, Rodwin Breslau.
I just
Which
feel
is a
weird.
pretty cool name. I like it.
His name.
Gotcha. Well, at least I waited till he was no longer employed with MLG to start insulting him. But let's move on from that.
You go, girl.
I go.
You go.
Homestory Cup, the other big thing was MC winning it. Two base in his way. That's not fair. But is MC going to continue to two base Jeff, or do you think he's really flourishing into a player that can do it all?
MC plays to win, and I mean, I think it's hard to, like, I'm on the same. I fall in the same boat as you. Like, I always watch MC for inspiration, but he plays such a timey style that it's really dangerous to try to even mimic that because he has his builds cut down so hardcore, and he'll take huge risks. I mean, he did 2-base timings when he felt like macroing. He actually did a bunch of 1-base blink stalker against Terran, and it didn't work a single time, but he sure tried it. So he's crazy like that, man.
Well, go ahead.
He has like no fat on a lot of those 2-base plays at all, because I feel like there's some fixed numbers for Terran that they just sort of work with, you know, where they'll early expand and then they'll go 3 barracks, and that's a very specific number, 3 barracks while they tech. And then after they get up the medevacs, then they have 5 barracks on 2 bases. These are sort of fixed. But there's a ton of Protosses that just sort of build a bunch of fucking gateways, because, you know, you never know when you need a warp in, and they'll have like 10 gateways on 2 bases, or sometimes 6, sometimes 8. There's no consistency. But like 8 is kind of hard to pull off, especially if you're going like Blink Stalker, which he recently did against some guy, some Zerg on dual site, where he went air, and then he cut probes at just the right time, and immediately went 8 gate, and was just churning out Blink Stalkers, and right as like a +2 upgrade finish, boom, he hit a base, was clearly all in, but had so much stuff, I'm not sure the Zerg had any way to hold it off. And it's one of those things that, like Jeff said, it's like hard to mimic, because he just has really good reads, and when he gets a read, he just goes with it. And it's one of those things that, I mean, if there was some textbook, you know, that had like basic StarCraft intuition, it's like, if you see a weakness in your opponent's play, don't overdo exploiting it. Don't do that, because it's the easiest way to backfire ever, to just go all in there and then not to have a follow-up. Unless you're MC, that's sort of how the rule would go. So that's what makes it like so weird to watch him play, is that he's almost styleless. I feel like when you watch him play, other than knowing that he'll pull out some sort of very fat-free, clean, ultra well executed build. Just really, really, really nice execution on his part.
The crazy thing to me is that he wins Homestory Cup, goes home, arrives in Seoul,
I know,
plays 10 hours later, and then gets into the round of 16 in Code S.
In a really tough group, by the way.
Yeah, in a group with Supernova, with Lenok, with God, I forgot Finn. What happened to 4GG? He went 1-4 in his group.
He played. The games against Lenok were stunning.
Well, the first game against Lenok was stunning. The second game was dog shit. If you remember,
but game 1 was stunning.
Game 1 was incredible, like until the very, very, very end. But this, who did he play? So everyone else that he played was just terrible. He beat MC game 1. Game 2 and 3 weren't the best. MC ended up winning. Yeah, I mean, what is y'all's take on MC and or on Finn as well? Excuse me, in Code S and how he's back in Code A already, after riding on so much hype is kind of the
travel that MC overcame to win Homestory Cup, then go home and do as well as he did in that group is absolutely absurd. He's a road warrior, and I remember a lot of people were making excuses for him when he did all those foreign tournaments, that it's like, well, you know, he's traveling too much and he's sucking, and he's out of practice because he's at a new tournament every other week. So I just kind of hope he doesn't fall into that, because the MC we saw in that GSL group play and then the MC we saw at the Homestory Cup is a really riveting, fun style of Protoss, and he's also such a character. Like, when he wins, you're in for a show. You know, his interview is going to be pretty damn honest, and I'm excited about that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And then the other big surprise is, I mean, there was a lot of surprises, I think, at Homestory Cup. Violet finally coming out. I mean, he's been kind of riding a lot of hype lately. What was your take on him, Steven?
For Homestory Cup?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought in the games that I saw, I thought he played pretty well. The one trademark to all of his games that was really funny is, like, in every single game there were lings in the opponent's base. Like, I don't know what happened, that it worked out that way, but in every single game there were ling run-bys, and whether it was versus a Protoss or a Terran or a Zerg, he always had lings, like, killing, like, as soon as they would move out. Like, he was really sick with the ling counterattacks. I don't think anybody expected him to do too well going into Homestory Cup, but I don't remember exactly where he finished, but he did pretty well. It was pretty surprising, I think.
Yeah.
And then I think that's the future of Zerg a lot of times too. Like,
really?
Zerg. Well, I mean, it's something Zergs have been doing, but I think we should see more Zergs having a pack of Zerglings already queued up for the counter. There's so many Protoss and Terran that leave the depots down, or as the Protoss would have it, there's a hole in their wall and there's nothing to block it. And things get in there, they cut up mineral lines a lot. I mean, there's just too many Terrans that are playing like really receptive to the Terran army, and they're not countering enough. But Violet really displayed the ability to counter and win with counters every time.
Right. I think the other, whether it was the biggest storyline or whether definitively it was the best series at Homestory Cup, was JYP against MC. Those games were incredible. Probably, I mean, top 5 games, I think. If you combine it with last year, definitely some of the best series, I think, of all time thus far. But for your newest player, Jeff, how did you think JYP did at Homestory?
Homestory Cup was a really cool tournament for him because he's a really outgoing guy. Like, it was the first time I ever met him, but he acted like we were old friends. He was hugging me all the time. He was willing to sit down and coach me in StarCraft 2, take time out of his day to help me get better, which is that kind of team aspect that we're really proud of on EG. And then he was able to have a fun, good time. Like, people are teasing him. He doesn't speak a lot of English, but he speaks pretty good English, and he was willing to give it a shot, which is such a good trademark for a guy in a place like that. Like, if you dumped me off in a Latin American tournament, I speak some Spanish, but I'd be too much of a pussy to try to even speak any more than that because I'd be ashamed of what I'm doing. But he didn't give a crap, man. He was going for it.
Nice.
And I was really proud of him performance-wise. He kind of lived up to his name. Like, his PVT needs work. I mean, he's the first one to say it too. So he was doing a lot of 6 gates in the PVTs, but his PvP and PvZ is pretty damn gorgeous, and I was really excited to watch it. And that final game against MC was a heartbreaker.
Yeah. Well, I remember you casting that game, and the one where it was like one building versus one. I think it was in a simulator versus a pylon or something. You actually had a heart attack live on air. I
would have.
When he moves out, and it just goes crazy, and then he comes back. And then MC would move out, and then he would move out again right next to us. You were freaking out on stream. Go check that series out if you guys haven't seen it before.
I mean, at first, what ended up happening was he was trying to bait MC into a really aggressive blink, and then he was going to crush the army, potentially win the game. But the first couple of times he was apparently wandering away from his final building, I was freaking out because I was thinking maybe this guy doesn't know what's going on. You know, like I had to watch Huck do that against Liquid Hero at MLG. That was a close second.
Yeah.
Like Huck has the game at least tied, maybe won with a unit advantage, and he actually threw it away. And it was like I was sitting in my chair going, "No!" It was so hard to watch.
Yeah. I will state, Steven is gracing us with his presence here. He's also playing in a tournament at this moment. So he's going to be quiet for a little while he's playing his match, and he will return shortly. He's not leaving the call, though, so you can see his still frozen webcam for whatever reason because Skype's awesome. But moving forward, Sean, we kind of haven't heard from you that much about Homestory Cup. What was your take on it?
Oh, this is one of those moments where I'm obligated to come up with something new to say.
Well, let's throw to Tyler first and come back to you. Because he's just going to copy whatever you say, man.
I'm ready. I think that it satisfies
pen and paper.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It satisfies this really nice need to hear how top players banter about the games. It's almost like a hyper ultra casual environment where sometimes there's tons of details that are being like left on the table, but you'll hear them debate a really ultra specific thing like what that third stalker should be doing in depth, and that's really cool to see. I know that it would be definitely like it would be hard for a lot of tournaments to make that like the consistent norm, because obviously there's so many new players who want the chance to have, you know, the usual sort of play-by-play and etc. But I think that the fact that they bring it on really gets you an interesting lens into the mind of so many pros. I particularly really like watching that PvP series between like MC and JYP and hearing like what Hasuabs has to say about the matchup. Because, I mean, generally he's such an unbelievably passive player in PvP, especially, to hear him give like really nice comments from both sides, you're like, oh, that's really cool, because it's so easy to just sort of like, oh yeah, I see him play passively and build a lot of Colossus in a lot of game. I guess that he just thinks about building Colossus, and you're just like, no, there's actually this brilliant set of justifications underneath all of it.
Right. Now, Tyler, I'm going to set you a new goal here in 2012.
Okay.
Every time I throw to you, it has to be a completely original statement.
Oh, damn.
So the gauntlet has been thrown down.
Something nobody has ever said before.
What were your thoughts on Homestory Cup 4, Tyler? Completely
how
original
original
statement
are we
number
talking
1.
here?
Do what?
How original are we talking here?
I mean, you can't say, well, everyone else has said everything.
All right. Well, dude, first of all, I'll start off with what other people talked about, the PvPs, because I think that was the most interesting part of it. And, like, it's still weird for me hearing the Protoss commentators, the pro players commentating PvP, and they're still saying, yeah, well, he has a better build order, so he has a huge advantage. Like, that's where we were over a year ago. Like,
right.
PvP's been a problem for so long. I mean, the 4-gate situation was worse, but it's always been rock, paper, scissors for so long. And the thing that I took away from a lot of that commentary was there's still so many opportunities to play rock, paper, scissors in PvP. Of course, there's the changes that have been made have created opportunities to leave the realm of rock, paper, scissors and go into a real StarCraft game. So we get that more often. And it's hard to play a game without having any opportunity to do something that takes skill and gives you an advantage over your opponent. Even if you're behind because of a build order, a lot of times you can catch back up. Like in StarCraft 1, let me get the StarCraft 1 Brood War references going for 2012.
I wasn't the first!
God damn it. I said original, Tyler.
Like Jaedong with his ZVZ, like, so I wasn't a Zerg player. Maybe Sean can pitch in for this, but I don't know ZVZ that well, but I know ZVZ was probably the most rock, paper, scissors matchup in Brood War. I don't know why I'm using past tense. It is the most rock, paper, scissors matchup in Brood War, I think. With, 9 pool, 12 pool, and 12 hatch were the 3 standard openings, I think.
I never knew why people said that. There came a point where that was just very clearly not true.
Yeah, I mean...
But, actually, go ahead with your
point. I was just going to say, Jaedong came at a point where it kind of was true. I mean, if you have a different opinion, I'll let you talk in a second, but I, as a non-Zerg player, just kind of looking in on the matchup from the outside, it seemed kind of true. And then Jaedong was like, well, you know what? I think I'm just going to win 90% of my ZVZs.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what? And he would play it, and he would do an opening that is supposed to be bad for him. And I guess you could still kind of see how it is kind of bad for him. And then he would just win anyway. Like, there would be a moment in the game where he'd make a brilliant decision, and he'd have perfect control, and he would just turn the game, and it's his. And that, hopefully something like that can happen for PvP and StarCraft 2.
Yeah, I mean, what you say is exactly the predominant mindset that went on in Zerg vs. Zerg for a long time. If you 9 pool, you're going to get to the 12 hatch before he has any units, so you kill it off. But if you build a 12 pool instead of a 9 pool, you have Zerglings to defend, and now you have more drones. And, so on and so forth, and the triangle spun around. But it's kind of funny how do I say that? This is actually something I'm going to talk about in tonight's Day 9 Daily, that there's a real temptation that when people deviate from a normal build opening, that they'll try to then go back on track with the original plan, and instead they'll just do a slower, worse version of it. So really simple example from old school Protoss vs. Protoss. A player knows that 1 base Colossus is pretty good. But what he's going to do is he's going to try to expand and then go a bunch of Colossus. So what happens? The player who goes 1 base Colossus gets more Colossus and range first and just kills the other guy. So, in other words, that little deviation and then trying to go back to the norm was a real problem. And that's what Jaedong did so brilliantly where let's take, for instance, in Zerg vs. Zerg, a player early expands, and Jaedong goes for a very standard gas, then pool, kind of slow on one base, and then goes for one hatchery, Mutalisk. When that normally happens, if a player early expands, you think, well, shit, it's now 2 gas against 1 gas. What do? The answer is, well, maybe I should try to expand as quickly as I can to get 2 gas and catch up. But in a very famous game, Jaedong stayed on one base for like 15 minutes and held the lead and maintained it, and then took an expansion, and then they got into a Mutalisk fight, and Jaedong just won with no control. Just a straight-up engagement. It's like one of those mind-bending moments where you realize that you might be thinking in too restrained of a box. If you obsess about something like, oh my god, I'm behind on geysers. Oh my god, how do I catch up on geysers? You're neglecting to say, well, where is my advantage? How can I exploit whatever advantage I have? And there's like a lot of really cool, crazy stuff happening in PvP lately. Like especially the whole Phoenix stuff, the whole, running stalkers at certain angles. And then because you see nothing, boom, time to expand on one gate, and it's totally safe because I'm at X time in the game. These are things that are really hard and really subtle to sort of see on the surface, but are what I think is making the matchup like ultra unbelievably interesting.
Yeah, it's cool how I think all Protoss players are getting smarter. It's taking a while to make it an amazing, brilliant matchup every single game, but you can definitely tell that every Protoss has become familiar with pretty much every opening, and that really wasn't the case. People used to specialize and be a little bit predictable, and everyone kind of has an open mind about everything because everyone's trying everything. At least that's what I see on ladder a lot. That's what I see in a lot of these games. So I think right before the expansion comes out, we'll figure it out, and then it's going to get ruined. So that'll be cool.
Probably true. Probably true. Yeah, I think Jeff, you want to touch on that? Okay, all right. Wrapping back to kind of Homestory Cup, one last second. Most fun tournament to watch, I think. Just in general, it's been talked about by Scoots, Wheat, pretty much everyone that watched said it was an incredible tournament to watch. If you didn't check out the VODs, definitely go check them out. I would say start with the JYP MC series because that was probably the best one. Also, the Destiny, Jeff, and Too Good cast was really fun. And then the MC, Rice, and Marine King cast, really fun. Go check those out. I think they're on IEM's website. But speaking of IEM, IEM Kiev is going on today. There were results, but everyone's talking about the issues going on with the tournament. A statement has been released by Carmack. It's been, I think Rotterdam was interviewed. It started off with Naniwa this morning, forfeiting the tournament and then playing a match an hour later or something. I'm not really sure what happened there. Apparently there was 4 to 5 seconds hard delays in the games. He was pretty upset with it. Said that he was not going to play it anymore. And eventually that got resolved. Carmack was saying he was completely reasonable and always kept his cool in all of the conversations, so I do have to credit him with that. But before we really get to the results of the tournament, I mean, how many more times are we going to see this with the tournament where land mode could just fix it?
Yeah.
I thought they said that it wasn't internet related, though. That it was related to the hardware of the PCs.
So there was also that. Let me pull up. Tyler, keep going with that. Let me pull up Carmack's actual.
Yeah, I'm going to get that open too, because I don't actually know quite what was going on with that. I haven't been following it.
Right. So, let's see here. So players had lag affected gameplay at some time. Results, Naniwa, and to a lesser degree, Starlock. Naniwa voiced concerns to the referee that he had lag issues. Meanwhile, I spent the entire day investigating the root of the problem. I spent a lot of time with the phone on Blizzard employees, talking to local IT masterminds who called the local ISP. Asked for the group play to be halted. So here's what we did in order to fix the issue. We called Blizzard countless times to make sure it's not a routing issue. Called the ISP countless times to do the same. Test other PCs in the gaming center to see if the issues occurred. The Arena IT have set up completely fresh PCs with SC2 only on them. These will be the machines used in the remainder of the tournament. There were no issues whatsoever with League of Legends or CS 1.6. So it looks like it kind of just solved itself. he doesn't really state the reasoning for
Yeah,
it.
like there didn't seem to be an identifiable
Yeah.
like specific problem, so it looks like IEM just said, "What are all the possible problems?"
Right,
well,
right.
let's fix all of them just to be sure. So
Well, that's good. It's
pretty
just,
cool.
Yeah. It's just weird when it starts off with Naniwa saying he's forfeiting the tournament, and then Grubby kind of not following suit, but later on he said that he was protesting the tournament. Is that how he phrased it? Did you guys check Reddit out?
I think he filed a protest for a game that he played in.
Okay, so
Which is kind of funny because
why's that?
I think it was Huck that brought it up. I can't remember who, but he was like, "Is there a governing body for games? Like, does that protest go anywhere? Like,
Yeah, where does that go?
I kind of imagine Michael from The Office going like, "I file for bankruptcy," or "I declare bankruptcy." I could see Grubby being like, "This game is under
Grubby's
protest."
so
and everyone's like, "Ah," and then nothing happens.
Grubby's lag was a result of a commentator lagging, or something like that. So once he was removed, I think it fixed itself, according to what was posted on Reddit and also what the chat was reminding me. And I also do want to state that there's a Ask Me Anything request for John Nelson now on Reddit, which is hilarious. So moving on to the...
and if it does really well, it'll have a good chance against the next AMA with John Nelson, too.
the extended AMA is what Jeff was going for there. So we got some results. For Group A, Strelok taking out Naniwa, White Raw taking out Titan and Strelok. There's not like a cumulative move on here thing. I guess I'm not looking at Wikipedia, but I believe Naniwa won that group, and then I think White Raw got second. Is that correct?
Yep.
They're out in second, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then for the other one, just looking at it briefly, Koss won, I think, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and
And
Zenio.
got second.
Zenio. Okay.
But
Jeff.
Zenio and Night End are regaming tomorrow. It's
I heard
either
they
gonna
weren't,
be
though.
just no, it's official.
It's official?
Like Intel or IEM's Twitter tweeted this.
Okay.
It's either just going to be Game 3 or they're going to play the whole thing over again, and apparently that is Zenio's choice. But what happened was they had a big, huge, determinate battle, giant lag, Night End's army disappears. And I think that's really
Bantams are awesome.
I think that's really cool that they're going to regame it.
Yeah.
So there's a chance, Night End, I mean, they obviously already took a game off of Zenio. There's a chance that he wins that, and I think that means that he would take second, Zenio would be third, and it would be Kaz, Night End. But for me, the big story here, and I think people need to start paying attention to this, Kaz, or Kaz, however you want to say it, is an absolute monster of a player. He is
God, he's so good.
so ungodly good. It is kind of gross, and you can call me a hype machine, but when I see that guy play, he reminds me of some of the Brood War players that just had bigger armies than the rest of us on a regular basis. They just macro on a different level. Kaz is really good.
I want to echo that. Like his play style, it's so easy to see someone do something like, go Banshee and then do whatever, or go for some sort of crazy Colossus drop and then do whatever. But Empire Koss knows that his core army is going to be Marines, tanks, and medevacs, so all of his harassment and pushes tend to involve those. It's really cool to see. He'll just all of a sudden move out with like 10 Marines, 3 tanks with siege mode with no other upgrades. And because of what he's identified in his opponent, he can do damage. But because he's still just going Marine tank, he's done no deviation. He hasn't bent off the path to get Banshees or Blue Flame Hellions or Medevacs drops or any of that stuff. His armies are huge. They're so stupid. I remember at DreamHack Winter watching his games against Idra, where Idra was playing like fine, but Idra couldn't ever do anything aggressive with his Mutalisk, because not only was there an army coming, but it was a huge army. So cool to watch him play.
We'll get back to that in just a second. John Nelson has gone ahead and released the entire invitee list over on Reddit.
Oh, wow.
So it's time to go Control F. Look for Control. Look for Tyler. Destiny's going to alt tab from his
I can't wait
game.
for those. I am the 140.
139, not 140.
You just figure, he's like, that's a good point. People are going to yell at me. I better just get out of the way now so I can have a month to defend.
Oh, wait. Is this a troll account? Uh-oh. John says he has not posted it yet.
Yeah, it's a troll account.
It's a troll account. We just got trolled.
60.5.
Trolled. But everyone believes me, so we're just going to go with it. Anyways.
And you just made that guy's whole day. He's
Did
like,
I? Well, I'm glad I made
Hey,
someone
honey,
say.
hey, honey, I made a fake account on Reddit, and I posted names, and everyone thought it was real.
Hold on, Jeff. Jeff. You know who I have to blame for this?
What?
I have Sir Scoots to blame for this. He messaged me on Skype, said that the list was published.
Attaboy, Scoots!
And then right after, he goes,
yeah!
ha ha ha, oh my god, dude, you believe me, what? It's Slasher.
Yeah.
He was getting me back by proxy through Scoots. That's what
Everyone-
just happened.
That's way too advanced.
Is that too advanced?
Scoots, please follow him.
Sir Scoots on Twitter, he just passed 10K. Go help the guy out. He's an excellent troll.
No, he's like 55 years old, dude. He's not that old.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Good point. Good point. All right, going back to IEM. Sorry for that random interruption, as I just got trolled. Doing some predictions real quick. Group C and Group D will happen tomorrow. Group C is Hasselhoff's MMA, Palmy, I think that's how I pronounce that, and Targa. MMA Hasselhoff's to make it through. Is that the collective choice?
I'd be really interested if someone disagreed with that.
Yeah, yeah. And then Group D, Damaga, Feast, Hero, QXE. Damaga, Hero to make it through.
I'm gonna go with it. Yeah.
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 Everyone else good? Jeff?
Consider it done.
When was the last time QXE played in a major tournament, by the way? I've not really seen him on the radar.
He's been playing in some of these IEM qualifiers and doing pretty well.
Okay.
I mean, oh, that's kind of silly. He's had an IEM tournament that he qualified for.
And then I feel bad. Feast is like this player that has a lot of buzz around him recently, right? Am I mistaken saying that?
It's because he's young.
Yeah, he's like super young. He's like 18.
15, I think.
Okay.
15.
He's 18, according to Wikipedia.
Son of a bitch.
Well, Sir Scoots gave you that info too.
Yeah.
And that'll air IM, I think that went live at like 5 CST, I think, tomorrow, January 20th. Go check it out, Team Liquid, also IM website.
Tonight at 3 a.m. is what that means for the rest of us.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if we got Europeans watch it, they can help out in the chat.
Yeah.
Sean, we are now midway through the show. You said you had an announcement.
Yeah. Are you gonna do any like breaks at any point?
No,
to,
no
segment
breaks.
the VOD?
No.
It's just continuous.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, getting announced
Do
tomorrow.
you want a drum roll before we start this? I was gonna go get a real one. Let's see what this sounds like.
I'm announcing the After Hours Gaming League Season 2. Yeah.
Just did that over. You say it again.
Damn it, JP. Oh, in my moment. After Hours Gaming League Season 2 will be getting announced tomorrow. For any of you who don't know about the After Hours Gaming League, it is not the usual league of inviting all the pros to duke it out with one another. It is instead grabbing big corporations, getting the people who help make those corporations possible, and having a fun corporate league. So last season, it was 8 companies: Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Twitter, Yelp, Zynga, and Dropbox. And now there's more than 30. And there's going to be League of Legends in there as well, because that's a really commonly played, like, casual type game. I figure since this is a StarCraft podcast, I'll just mention that there's going to be League of Legends. And next week, Wednesday at 5 p.m., I will be on State of the League, which is a similar League of Legends type show, to talk a little bit about that.
Oh my god.
What?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that, Jeff?
What's wrong?
Is that league like the equivalent of like the softball leagues that fire stations and police stations do, or?
I mean,
What?
I guess. Except
Sweet.
it's more massive. It's not just a little tiny local thing. It's a broad international awesomeness. And the website is going to be ahgl.tv. I know on Reddit some of the teams posted their team photos like a few weeks back, so
A lot of them. I've seen a lot of the Twitch guys tweeting about playing the first round matches as well.
they're pretty awesome. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm allowed to announce this, but I'm going to.
Well, don't you run the thing? So can't you announce whatever?
Yes,
Pull
that's
John
true.
Nelson. Just go ahead, man.
One of the participants of the league, just a hint, just to sneak that in there, is none other than DJ Wheat, is playing for the Twitch TV team.
Which of his fake accounts is he going to be using? That is
Possibly DJ Wheat, but more than likely Gen.
Okay. Kitchen wheat. Yeah.
All right, so next Wednesday, Sean, look out for that, and tomorrow for the big announcement.
Yeah, man, and I'll be doing weekly casts of that. And there's going to be an inaugural cast on Sunday of. I'll just let the two teams get announced tomorrow.
There you go.
I know who I'm casting, but I want all to just poop down on you in
All
one
right. Well,
uniform moment.
Since we've been off air, one of the biggest topics is everyone is shuffling from team to team. MC joined SK full-time. He left OGS. He no longer lives in the OGS house. Moon just recently joined with Fnatic. EG released Axlav and Strife Crow. Is that it, Jeff? Last night?
Yeah.
Just those two
I mean,
players?
it's happened for a while now, but it was announced last night.
Yeah. And they're no longer. Are they no longer in the house?
Okay. Axlav has actually moved out. He has another team, and it's I can't say too much because it's his news to talk about. Hopefully, it's really exciting. People are really happy that we're. I'll speak to the whole thing too in a second here, but Strife Crow. That's him right over there. He's still hanging out. He as well is in pursuit of another team, but of course, we here at Evil Geniuses do not kick people out to the curb. So obviously, it's a pretty graceful. He's still a friend of ours, hanging out, that kind of a thing. But to speak to the whole thing in general, because there's actually a interesting thread on Team Liquid talking about the whole ordeal. And I guess the word of caution I would give to people is to try and open their minds beyond what I mean. There's so many definitive people being like, "Wow, such and such isn't doing as good as Axlav did. Why weren't they cut?" And I think Sir Scoots gave a really good answer on Live on 3 episode 100.
He was tilted too. That was pretty.
The bottom line is teams are running a business, and there's more reasons to have a player than just subjective tournament qualifications and that kind of a thing. There's you have to get an ROI out of a player, and that's just the management side. The other side of that too is it's the player's responsibility to do best by their own right. Axlav and Strifecrow are freaking amazing players. They're kind of building their fan base right now, especially Axlav with the stream. It's gaining a lot of popularity, but he's not there yet. So why in God's name would he sign a contract with a team that underrepresents his potential just because that's what they can do at that time? You know what I mean? Like he deserves to go out and get a better offer with a team that needs a player like Axlav to fit their roster. And that's what he did. So we're really happy and excited for him. He's still going to be training with us, and he's still obviously an amazing player and our friend. So we miss him. And then Strifecrow is going to do the same thing. Strifecrow is an even more silent player than Axlav. Like I keep telling him to stream and stuff, and he's actually one of the funniest freaking guys you'll ever meet. His Twitter should have 100,000 followers because of the stuff he shits out of his mouth. But
what is his Twitter? So we can start that.
I think it's just EG Strifecrow. So I think it'll be renamed eventually. But
yeah.
Every one of us is really good friends with both those guys. We're really sad about them leaving. But at the same time, like down to Axlav and Strifecrow, they understand why, and they're pretty excited about their future as well. So it just kind of sucks going through the threads. It's predictable that people are saying, EG made the wrong choice, and they're like, In Control's next, he's going to get fired. And it's like, all right, guys. But I just would hope that the community would have a little bit more of a broader perspective that there's a lot more that goes into running a team than just merely player X equals Y value because I can determine that, at face value. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on behind, basically. So.
Yeah. All right, so some of the other players, of course, Golden and Dragon leaving Slayers. And I guess that's it. Except
announcing
the
the desire to join foreigner teams, too, by the way.
Yeah.
They didn't just leave.
And, Dragon has a pretty big fan base, man. He has a lot of people watching him stream on a day-to-day basis. So I would not be surprised if a foreigner team picked him up simply because he's just a big name. He might not do so well in terms of tournaments, but he has a huge fan base when it comes to streaming because he's a pretty charismatic guy and does a lot of fun stuff. But the TSL stuff that happened, it seems like every day something new kind of comes out of that whole situation. The latest this morning was from Ray Cruel, one of the kind of old guard, I guess, when it comes to Brood War. but he came out and discussed some stuff about Coach Lee, which was said. I don't really know what else we can comment on that other than it was said. I mean, Jeff, is there Tyler, anything that you guys want to add to it? I mean, the news is out there. It's shitty that it is that way, but I don't know what else we can say about it, you know?
I don't know. I get kind of impatient playing the PR, like the PC guy when it comes to Coach Lee. He's actually, like, there's actually a lot of stories other than one Rickroll told about his, he's not that great of a guy. Damn it. This is so awkward. There's like a lot of people watching, so I can't back out of this now. But he's just kind of a shady character, and he has done some really bad stuff in the past. And in each of the situations, both involving Puma and everyone else leaving his team, he's very quick to play the victim publicly, and a lot of people romanticize the situation from his perspective because they think the big bad capitalist West is coming to steal the poor innocent Koreans that don't know better, you know? That's like not what's happened at all in either of the situations, but it's unfortunate. I mean, the good thing is as I read the thread discussing that situation, there seems to be more and more people starting to accept and see that Coach Lee is a little bit manipulative, and actually, like, he's not getting the raw end of the stick. He's actually shedding players because they're quick to leave him because it's a really bad environment. But I don't know. I guess it's not my story to tell.
Yeah. I don't think it's anyone else's story to tell rather than.
I mean, I would just say it's just another, you know, drama bomb.
Yeah.
Where new info leaks little by little, and I just think, like, there's never a story that gets published, you know, to a forum or Reddit or whatever, that's the full story right off. And so the extreme reactions that people have based on the first thing that they hear, they're just inappropriate. I mean, you really have to think, how much do you know? Because what happens is like, people don't know anything about something, right? And then they find out a little tiny bit about it. And instead of thinking about that as a little tiny bit, that's all they have. And so it's like they go to an extreme with that little bit of information. But you have to keep it in perspective that, you know, one person told one story and you don't know the character of the person that told the story. I mean, there's just so many ways that things go wrong and communication breaks down. So, I mean, I really think if you're going to be passionate about something, it's something that you need to not be ignorant about. You have to know the full story. And if you can't know the full story, then you just have to trust that the people who do are doing the best they can. Like, I don't know, sometimes the community just overreacts. I mean, I guess everyone knows that. Everyone says it every time they overreact, but
yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't really think there's anything else to say other than what was said. So, guys, other
you
host...
forgot one real quick one.
What's that?
MTW set a new record
for
having signed.
No, it was so quick
cut.
that I forgot about it, man. It was so quick I forgot about it.
It's a world record. It's an esports world record. Sun Cow.
I love that thread on Team Liquid too.
Wait, I saw this title.
People are like, okay, so Sun Cow gets signed, and then, you know, naive people are like, oh, this is great, and then, like, old veteran people are really like, this is fucked up, man. Like, what's gonna go wrong? And like, they were getting shit for it, and then before 24 hours passes, you hear that Sun Cow can't enter Europe to compete in tournaments. And that's not in MTW's interest as a team, so they had to part ways. It's like the biggest "I told you so." Like, maybe he is reformed. Maybe he's a good guy now and he's doing everything great. But like,
he's a tennis instructor in Dubai, in case people are interested.
Yeah. I mean,
oh my gosh.
And I mean, people are like, it doesn't matter what his history is. You know, it only matters what he is now. And then it turns out it matters a whole lot because he can't enter a continent.
Oh God. Well, I mean, you think this is because it's basically like the off season? Do you think we're going to continue to see more teams change up stuff in the next
not
month,
too much longer?
maybe,
It'll
and
be
then
like another month
be
or so. But
yeah.
Contracts go from January to December typically.
Right,
So
right.
that's why there's all this shifting around as people are negotiating and things are happening.
Right.
But they should be pretty resolved coming up here. So the guys you see on teams should be the guys that re-sign with their teams, respectively.
Yeah, yeah. All right, guys. Well, Destiny's 1-1 right now, going into his last game. It's coming up.
Steve.
Everyone cheer on
Steven.
Destiny. We're going to take a quick break. I'm not going to run any ads or anything like that, but we got to take a break. Just we'll be right back in like 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Please don't leave the stream. Just keep watching. We'll be right back. We got GSL Steel Series coming up. We'll talk about this Total Biscuit Shoutcraft do strat discussion, which Day 9 will hopefully lead and think of something cool there. Then we'll do some user call-ins as well to wrap the show up. So, guys, we'll be right back. All right, guys. Thanks for being patient. Sean, what are you laughing about? What is this
Oh
link
my
with OGS
god,
Nada?
I'm watching OGS Nada do this obstacle course.
I'll paste it in the chat. Everyone can go watch. Anyways, there we go. It's in the chat. Jeff, actually, Tyler, I know, Jeff, you got some. Tyler, did you get some permafrost vodka the other day?
Yes.
Did you try the fire tree stuff? Did you get that?
No.
Fireweed.
Fireweed. Did you get that?
Is it a whiskey or vodka?
It's a vodka.
No.
It's really good, man. It's the only one that I've never tried.
What's
And
it
again,
like?
I don't know what to compare it to, man. It doesn't taste like vodka, though. That's for sure. I really don't know what to compare it to.
We got some delicious ones, man.
What'd you get?
This was the most excited package, I think.
Oh yeah.
We got blueberry, which we hadn't got yet. Blueberry is amazing.
I got some blueberry too. Yeah.
And then I think we got like we got flavored ones, and then we got a whiskey, but it was like blueberry, like raspberry maybe, or strawberry or something. I don't even know, but some tasty ones.
It's good. Definitely try out the Fire Tree stuff if you're interested in ordering some permafrost vodka. But anyways, we got to talk about Destiny wants to talk about the Steel Series stuff, but he's still playing his game, so we'll come back to that. I do want to bring up the Shoutcraft Invitational number 4. I think
amazing tournament. Holy crap! Those games were like rigged good.
And I also, a lot of people were talking about the tip jar, which is something that Total Biscuit set up for all the players, and I think that was an awesome idea. I don't know. I heard a couple different values out there. Do you guys remember exactly some of the bigger ones? Did anyone reach like
Dark
1,000?
Horse got $800-ish.
I mean, that's awesome.
For losing.
Yeah, I mean, just because people tipped him money for the games, right? Is how
Yeah.
I
mean,
that
it's
is
an amazing system.
Yeah, it's an amazing system. Huge shout out to Total Biscuit for running that. And I think him and Apollo just announced a new tournament. Sean, do you know the Iron?
The Iron Squid. I actually think it was created by Ponfetude, the two French commentators.
Oh, okay. And they tech.
And I believe that Total Biscuit and the Apollo are doing the shoutcasting for that. It's in France in March. I don't know what it is.
I thought you were trying to name the city. I was like, Sean, just say France, man.
It is en Paris. But yeah, I've met Ponfetude, and they're brilliant. Like, they have an unbelievably good rapport. So they're two shoutcasters that if you don't know about them, you should. I mean, there's a lot of, I think foreign language casters, like the Korean casters and the German casters who are quite well known, but shout out to them. People who speak French, très oui.
Our new viewers. There we go, reaching out to Europeans €1 at a time. SCI 4 though. Sean, you watched. Jeff, did you watch any of that tournament?
Which one?
Total Biscuits tournament.
I watched most of it.
Yeah. So, what did you guys think? What was your standout match? It was on too early for me, so I did not watch.
Stefano just played brilliantly. I mean, I think when that guy turns it on and kind of gains confidence and just plays his game, he's just an absolute monster. He dismantled Thorazane. One game, I think it was the really long epic one. He got like butchered and was so far behind, and then somehow wins this super game. It's just. I guess that series, the finals, just the way Stefano played it from a Zerg perspective, you're in for a treat, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing the Day 9 Daily on that game tonight, Stefano versus Thorazane on Metalopolis, to talk a little bit about that. Because he loses his whole main to a drop and just kind of keeps playing. It's fine. It's no big deal. It's just my main base. Fuck it. So that was cool to see.
Tyler, did you happen to watch? And if so, what was your standout?
Yeah, I watched. I don't know if anything really stood out for me, but I missed the finals, and that would have been fun to watch, but I think the playoffs were on or something, so I was watching that instead.
Oh, can we talk about that 49ers game for a second?
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit. Sean, you probably have no idea what's going on here, but...
No, I don't watch sports ball where they...
Jeff, did you watch?
Points and eat meat.
They watch what?
The 49ers game on Saturday?
Nope.
All right, well, then we won't talk about all that much. It was an incredible game.
There was like 4 lead changes in the last 3 minutes or something.
What a fucking incredible game there. And football's awesome. Anyways, back to the state of the game.
But hey, I don't know if the community knows exactly how these shoutcrafts are run, but I just think it's an amazing thing that Total Biscuit does. And it's like, as far as I know, all the prize money is
from him.
Just like from the community. Like the money that Shoutcraft makes goes into the next Shoutcraft.
Yep.
Right? And then the tips go directly to the players. And it's just kind of, and then, like Total Biscuit's the middleman orchestrating the whole thing. And of course, commentating. So it's just a nice little tournament. It seems like so sustainable, and it's always producing good matches. It's not the biggest competition ever, but it gets really talented players and really fun matches, and usually pretty fun commentary too. So I just think it's a unique tournament that's going on, and everyone should always check it out. But yeah, so I missed the finals. I watched Thorzane versus Rhett, and of course I'm cheering for Rhett. But I thought it was a pretty good series that Thorzane ended up taking 3-2. Of course, you know, I talked to Rhett about it, and he's just disappointed about his mistakes and whatnot. But for me as an observer, it was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, I will also state, as an independent production guy now as well here on State of the Game, for Total Biscuit to do everything that he did with that tournament and the viewing experience is incredible. Him and Diapala, huge shout out for putting on that tournament. It was awesome. The fact that it was run by him, and that's it.
Yeah, Total Biscuit just seems to try to just think up ways to just throw money at things.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, I mean, like the current SC Reddit invitationals are so popular. I mean, getting like 50,000 concurrents in the middle of the stream, which is hard to do and totally worth it because it was an amazing event. That money obviously goes on to the next SC Reddit invitational. But before then, he would stream all month long on his channel, running ads, doing commentary, the whole works, having a blast, and then taking all the money from those ads, and that's how he would support the players. So basically doing a huge amount of time investment just to give money to them. And then like the whole Team Liquid replay share thing where he he like casts the replays and then splits it with the pros. It's like totally awesome. And then he made an amazing picture for me.
I think he said this last one did so well that he could pay for the next 2 StarCraft invitationals, actually.
They had like 40,000 people watching when I watched. I don't know what they tapped out on in the finals.
Kudos to the community.
That's
awesome. That's absolutely amazing.
Him,
yeah.
Huge shout out. Great turnout for that event. A great tournament all in all. But GSL.
Good format too, by the way. He's like, we need to speak to the format. He's actually looking for ways to always have meaningful matches.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool idea. So I mean, there were some people that were like, I don't like the tip jar, or I do. There was this whole debate about that. I think it was on Reddit. But the bottom line is he's looking for a way to make it so that when I watch a tournament, every single game counts. And I'm in full support of him in pursuit of that. I think that's really cool.
He did something on top of that, too. He just straight up, if you are playing a meaningless match, like you're eliminated, and you still have to play another match, you play for $50. It's like the comeback bonus prize. So I think that's the situation Dark Force was in. I think he was eliminated, and then his last series he won it. So he got $50 straight up from the tournament, and then he garnered a bunch of tips in the process. So it was pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, great tournament. Go check it out if you guys have never seen it before. I believe a lot of the VODs, if not all of them, are posted, and hopefully we'll see some info coming out about the next one. GSL, we talked a little bit about MC and Finn. We did not talk about Idra dropping down to Code A. Jeff, I'm sure you watched some of those games. I don't know who else did, but your thoughts on those matches and kind of Greg's state right now in Korea?
It's really hard. I mean, there's a few things, like, it's really easy to watch. It's easy to watch Greg and get frustrated because he's carrying the weight of a lot of people's expectations. A lot of people still refer to him as like the foreigner hope. You know, he always carries that flag, so to speak. So to sit down in a group with MVP, Nesty, and Lucky, who I think is an underrated Zerg.
Yeah, for sure.
And for him to go 1-4 in those games and lose 2 ZVZs to 2 extremely good Korean players, it's really easy to watch that and be like, you know, he didn't, you know, he just quit again. He's such a terrible player. But like, come on, you know, it was an amazing group. He did have a great series against Lucky. He tried some cheese against Nesty, but guess what? I think a lot of people would try a cheese or 2 against Nesty. And it sucks that he's in Code A, but I hope he makes a run from it there.
Right.
And just to speak to Idra in general, because like a lot of people bring up the Teja series, and a lot of people are talking about his ladder record stuff. Idra himself has said that when you travel to Korea, it actually takes time for the effects of Korea to settle in. They play different. They play at a higher level. There's the travel conditions in and of itself. There's the increased practice, the different type of practice. So give him some time. Like, give him another month or two, and I guarantee you, Greg is going to reap the reward of practicing in Korea, and we're all going to be better for it. So it kind of sucks when you see all the haters roll out ready to call him down, but I think it just takes more time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that have gone over to Korea have said that it takes more than a month. It takes 2 to 3 months, really, before you start seeing a lot of the results from being over there. Round of 16 group nominations, I think, are coming up here pretty soon, so we don't really have all that much to predict because I think Code S just wrapped up. But Tyler and Sean, did you guys watch any Code S? Was there any standout matches, in your opinion, that we need to bring up?
Finn versus Lenok game 1. Yeah.
Game was awesome.
Yes. That was a man game. Oh, dude, that was so fun to watch. I watched it twice.
What? I mean, why? Speak to it.
Yeah, that's actually probably. It seems like
I'm
reasonable
just like,
follow-up, right?
that's cool, Sean, but why was it so awesome?
Wow, that is so fascinating. I would describe it as races tend to have their win condition move. For Zerg, most notably, I get a bunch of Broodlords and a bunch of Infestors. Whoo! I'm in my win move, and then they just sort of bulldoze across the map. And it's felt kind of that way for a while. I mean, sure, there's some trading, you have to be careful with positioning, but it's really cool that in the last few months, players have really started to say, okay, he's getting Broodlord Infestor, I know how to deal with that, and it becomes more of an even position. And that game, just seeing Finn's incredible macro and his fearlessness with dealing with that, and the rate at which he was expanding, was really, really cool. Lenok looked like he was having the hardest time holding on ever, but was doing an incredibly good job of holding on. It kind of flopped the matchup from the way it usually goes. Normally I kind of feel like it's the Terran who's kind of like holding back, making sure everything's good, and then starts to really push forward with the aggression. But in this game, it was Finn doing all sorts of crazy aggression, and the amazing defensive ability of Lenok really coming to fruition, which was totally sweet to watch.
Was that the first map of the season, or was that second night? I forget. Finn played on the second night, right? Idra played on the first, or was it switched?
I don't know.
The point that I was trying to make
I generally watch the GSL in the morning, and it's just sort of a blur as to when they happen for me.
Yeah, go watch that series regardless. It was, or at least the first game. The rest of the series is kind of terrible. But Tyler, were there any matches that stood out for you?
I mean, I'd say at least the standout performance on the Protoss side so far, it goes to Genius. He's kind of reasserted himself.
Yeah, that's true.
With
He's
this
a character too.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty fun to watch his little ceremony thing against SC. But aside from that fourth game that he played, Game 2 against SC, which was just a build order win, the other games that he played, the first game against SC and the 2 games against DRG, pretty meaningful games, I guess I would say. Like, you can't watch them and say, oh, well, Genius just kind of won that luckily, or, anything like that. He was playing some StarCraft too, and he was doing it pretty well. So it'll be exciting to watch him round of 16.
Well, I think that'll be starting here pretty soon. I don't know the exact dates. Check it out, gomtv.net or on Liquidpedia. But Sean, it falls on you now for the strat discussion. So what are we talking about, man?
All right, Protosses and Destiny, welcome back.
Hey, what's up?
Did you win?
Yeah, I did.
Nice. Ain't no thing. State of the game, winning
Yeah,
games,
just
not a problem.
Of course.
All right, Sean,
Obviously.
take it away.
Okay, so as you might imagine, I study a ton of StarCraft, right, for the whole daily spiel. And I'm sure as all you players experience, a lot of time there's like a strategy that'll come up that you haven't seen before, but you can sort of like wing an intuition with it. And you're like, all right, cool, I kind of get what the theme of what's going on is. But I feel really lost about some of the recent changes in PvP, in particular, Phoenixes. It's such a new form of play that I haven't spent any time studying it, and I would be delighted to hear your thoughts on what the main goals of the build are, what are some like variations of it, what are things that you're suddenly worrying about that you weren't worried about before, things that you shut down that you used to be worried about before. Because, I mean, I know from looking at Tyler's way old school games of his Phoenix openings in PvP on such incredible maps as Steps of War, you do have the opportunity to pin your opponent back a bit because you're both generally low on probes, one basing it in the early game. Losing 4, 5, 6 probes is a pretty big deal. So all of a sudden, your opponent is clutched back and you have a lot more map control. But, I mean, other than that, I feel personally fairly lost at that point. So I'd be delighted to hear your thoughts, assuming that I'm as dumb as it gets, which I don't think is unreasonable.
I think the first thing you have to look at is the map, because I think the way you use Phoenixes varies a lot depending on the map. So you have some maps like Shakuris, where Protosses are finding that they like to try to expand a little bit quicker. They like to expand, and they have that ramp there, and they want to defend it. And so in response to that, other Protosses have been making kind of new builds that are designed to bust that kind of early expanding. Because if you sit back and you do kind of a passive play, and your observer is kind of late, and that's the first thing you scout with, and you see that he's expanded, a lot of times you can't actually punish that well. Of course, like today, Naniwa punished, who did he play? I forgot who. Titan. He punished Titan a lot. That's exactly what happened. Naniwa went blink, Titan expand quickly, and he punished it. But the Phoenix build is one of the things that can punish it well, because I think going like 3-gate Phoenix all in is a really strong build, because you can hit before other builds really get their stride. You can bust up ramps even with it under some circumstances, and if they've tried to expand, a lot of times you just outright kill them. I think the tricky thing with Phoenixes, though, is if you don't use them well in a battle, you're probably going to lose the game. Like, you can lift and kill some probes, but don't plan on having a battle anytime soon because you don't have energy. And if you have a battle where they don't really play a huge role, then you're probably losing the game. So that's the tricky thing about them. But on larger maps, they're becoming more popular, obviously, because they're fast. You can scout with the first one.
Yeah.
And they're still useful. Like, they know you're going Phoenix now. Well, you're still going to build them. So you get a really quick scout in, and then you have your little group of Phoenixes. And that play, I think, that's maybe a little bit more where you're coming from, is kind of just, I have Phoenixes now, let's play PvP with Phoenixes. How do we do it without having like a very specific plan in mind? And that, I think, is still being explored, but I think they can be effective. I mean, you have things like Warp Prism drops that are no longer an option against a Phoenix player. You can always strike anywhere at any time, basically, for some economic damage or just to contribute to a fight a little bit. But once you get, like, the bigger the armies are, the less Phoenixes matter. So if you're not, like, having a good effect with them in early and mid-game, then you're probably losing the game there too. So there's a little bit of a sense of urgency. It's like, I think people need to kind of figure out a way to open with Phoenixes and have that opening extend all the way to like 12 or 13 minutes in the game, where the game is still going according to your plan. And I don't think people really have that yet. But if people did that, that would be cool.
It's so easy to go into all-in mode with like any build in PvP, because you see that window and you're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can actually kill him right now. One thing to note, I played 4 or 5 games in a row PvP, just doing the Phoenix plus 3 Warp Gate all in, because it's just like the easiest variant of it. And to throw out what like a really effective way to deal with it is actually to sort of wall off the front of your base the same way that players wall off against 4 gate by building the 2 gateways there.
Yeah.
It's like so good, because I mean the Phoenixes are strong because you lift the enemy sentries up, they can't force field your ramp, and you march right up it. So that's something that I've run into, and that's like really sort of like a cool and exciting thing where, all right, it actually can progress towards the 12 to 13 minute mark, where you really would get shut down pretty hard if that happened. Crap, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, Grubby, who just blew my mind at the SCI. he goes for Phoenix a lot, and I know if you go to his Twitch TV, which I think is Twitch TV, follow Grubby.
Yeah,
Pretty sure that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I just want to make sure that's accurate and then paste it in the chat. Sweet. Yeah, twitch.tv/follow Grubby. If he has his videos up, I know that he goes Phoenix a ton in that matchup. So I don't know if, because I know Nani always keeps videos up, but I was hoping that would be a good resource.
So,
And damn it, they're not up. But cool. Yeah, if you find me replays of Grubby,
I was
he's
gonna
awesome
say,
and does it.
hey, when I play against Phoenixes, because I haven't been going them as much, but I have been playing against them quite a bit. Usually my mindset is I want to safely expand and just survive until like mid to late game. That's pretty much it. That's almost the only thing I ever do against Phoenixes. So in a sense you could say that they successfully pen me back, and I have lost a game or two where they go Phoenixes and then they kind of aggressively expand after them and then just pump a ton of probes, like aggressively make probes, and then I actually get behind in economy and have a smaller army. So that's a little bit of a problem, but scouting can fix that. But I just feel pretty comfortable. A lot of times I just let them kill probes. I just over make probes. I constantly make probes. I'm like, okay, you're spending so much money on Phoenixes that I'm planning eventually won't do anything in the big battle that happens. I'm just going to spend that money on probes, and I'm going to be ahead in gas and just have a stronger army than you. So that's kind of the way I approach it, and I think that's a bit of a problem for some Phoenix players.
Yeah, because I've seen Grubby, he'll open Phoenixes, and he'll get 3 gateways up, but he will hardly make units out of the gateways and just take an expansion really quickly. It's generally ahead of his opponents, and the opponent can't really scout very well. And if he suddenly needs to get a whole bunch of units up, he can generally get an appropriate amount up. Now granted, I've seen him do it 3 times on Antigua Shipyard, and once on Shakuris. So those are pretty good maps to do that opening on, to do that sort of expand thing. But I was also a little bit surprised to see that he got the 3-gate up in addition to that, because I know a lot of players are doing the 2-gate Phoenix and then getting a Robo. And they have this sort of like hodgepodge of a couple Zealot sentries, but mainly the Immortal is like the real meat unit of it all. I don't know if you have any thoughts on, because I mean, how does one go Phoenix? What is the appropriate like composition of buildings and like the order of those buildings? What are good ways to go Phoenixes? 1 gate into Phoenix? Do you always want to go 2 gate into Phoenix? You could like explain a little bit of your thoughts on that part.
I mean, I personally like what it sounds like Grubby is doing. I think that's the best way to go about it. I think maybe what he's thinking is if his Phoenixes see something that he can be aggressive against, then he's going to go ahead and use the gates and not expand and try to do a kind of MC style. I have a read that I can kill you if I go all in, and I'm just going to do it. But then he has the option play where, you know, he just expands, and I think that's pretty nice. But you do have these players that the way they play against Phoenix is they immediately in their head they have a timing attack that's going to kill you, that hits you at a weak spot where your Phoenixes can't contribute that much to the battle. So that if they find out that you're expanding, maybe they're immediately in all-in mode timing attack thing. So I think that those issues are what matter the most when you're deciding exactly how you're going to follow up with you know what's going on around the Phoenixes in the build. And it just feels to me like the Robo stuff is kind of weak. I don't really get it. Maybe I just haven't seen a great example of it. I certainly haven't been trying it myself, but I haven't really seen where I'm like, oh, it's awesome that he went Robo instead of Gates. Because, I mean, if you're not really worried about picking off observers to deal with blank stalkers, and you're not worried about DTs, then you don't need your own observers. And Immortals aren't really great unless they're hitting armored stuff, because otherwise you can just get stalkers. It's pretty much the same thing. So I don't really get the robo thing. I feel like the gate thing, it's easier to do, and it comes faster, and you have unlimited scouting with the Phoenixes, so you can't really go wrong with it.
Now, like, I don't know if this is a particularly useful thing to bring up, but I'll bring it up anyways. I was watching, I think it was Hongun's stream. It was either Hongun or Hero, one of those H Gosus, where the streaming player was going for just kind of a standard blink play, and the other player was going for a really aggressive 3-gate Phoenix play and getting a good amount of Phoenixes. And it was really cool to see the tactics that the Phoenixing player was doing, building a pylon by the edge of the base once he had total map control, flying the Phoenixes, warping in, and just being really, really aggressive, trying to kill off as many probes as possible. Yeah. And when the streaming player went for a whole bunch of Blink Stalkers, the Phoenixing player actually went 2 Robo Immortal off one base. It was really weird. I have no idea if you've ever seen anything like that, but it was like suddenly stopping all production of everything, got out 6 Immortals really fast, and just attacked and killed. And it's kind of like what you were talking about, how you have like perfect information. You can see exactly what your opponent's doing in his composition. If you have a decent number of Phoenixes and he has not that many sentries, just lift them all up and the Immortals just waltz right on in. I mean, I really hate the idea of trying to be a proponent of, no, if he one bases, you one base even harder, and there you go. But it's just such a weird feeling opening, because I've seen games where players crush with it. I've seen games where players just look like they wouldn't even be able to hold off a basic 3-gate attack at the start.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I know that Oxalov did a lot of sort of creative, crazy PvP openings for a long time. Do you like have any comments about the sort of Phoenix opening style?
Just that I called it like 5 months ago and you guys laughed in my face.
I didn't laugh.
He called it.
Yes, you did. Phoenixes are really strong. The way that Axlab uses them is oftentimes he'll expand even off of just a couple of gateways while using the Phoenix to kind of stiff arm his opponent and keep them at a distance, because part of the strength of the Phoenix isn't necessarily in its direct application. It's a lot of it comes from the fact that it's irregular. People don't face Phoenix nearly as much as they face Robo or Blink. So Robo and Blink are much more developed in terms of, oh, he's going Blink, here's my best responses. But when facing Phoenix, it's more like, sometimes I attack and it kind of works, other times I defend and just build probes and that kind of works, but I'm not quite sure. And then does he go Colossus from there, or does he do something else? So, I mean, Axlab did everything off of it. He would go Colossus, or he would actually just go a lot of gateway units to try to make a timing. I know there's what he called the Atero style, which is actually really popular on the Korean server, which is just where you try to bust the ramp. You pick up the sentries that would actually otherwise force field the ramp, and you use 3 or 4 gateways to produce enough units to overrun it, and then your 3 or 4 Phoenix pick up and eliminate the sentries, but then also remove units from the battle as well. And you can bust a ramp that way too.
Yeah, I know that for anyone looking for a new and fun all-in, like just 3-gate Zealot Sentry with Phoenixes is like totally great. Super easy to execute. Like, your money just lines up ultra nicely. But
I wouldn't say, Jeff, Phoenixes have made it, though. You can't say I told you so yet. I think they're kind of the same spot they were when we first brought them up. Do you really think that
No.
they're that strong?
You're right. I was talking about how, like, I was proclaiming that it would be, like, the future of PvP and how everyone would go Phoenix. It's obviously nowhere near that.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree that it's the same as it was back then, because it was much more irregular then. I could play 5 games of PvP on Europe, North America, and Korea. I'll see him 2 or 3 times on Korea, 1 time on Europe, and 2 or 3 times on NA. Typically, like it's becoming much more common, I would say.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like it's part of the thing I said earlier in the show, where just all Protoss players have more cards to play in PvP now. Like everyone's knows a little bit of everything. I think even a while ago, even players who never played Phoenixes could probably recognize that, you know, Phoenixes is like the rock to this Scissors build, but they would still never go Phoenixes. and now they are. Now they're mixing in a little bit and trying to see how it'll work. So yeah, it's definitely way more common.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I guess Destiny, yeah, like you've been playing a while.
Still serious thing, man.
Zerg. I mean, I don't know if you have any comments about the Phoenix thing, but
The only analog that I can draw to it that I actually like is in a really roundabout, like you kind of have to stretch your imagination a little bit. The Phoenix can kind of be compared to the Infestor, and then I like the versatility of the unit, kind of like what you were talking about before with the pylon out to the base, super aggressive. And what I mean by that is the Phoenix can be a fighter, like lifting enemy units, and it can also harass economy at the same time. And you have to make a lot of really important decisions too. These Phoenix builds sound like what Infestor heavy builds used to be like, where if the Zerg could micro the Infestors really well and make really good decisions about when to fight with them and when to harass with them and when to defend with them, it can be really scary. But if you don't know what to do with them, you just end up wasting all your energy and you don't accomplish much of anything, and then you just get steamrolled like a noob, and you're like, why does this unit even work? You know, I like the versatility of the unit, I guess.
Man, I wish the Phoenix was an Infestor.
I wish my air-to-air could hit ground, too. Or even kill other air units, but, what do we have to?
so I want to ask
That's why you have the Infestor. It kills everything.
I want to ask you an even more basic question about Phoenix openings. What are some of the basic orders that you use to just get the Stargate up in the first place? One gate, then Stargate? Or the standard 3-stalker opening, then Stargate? I guess I should say 2 gateway, and then make maybe 1 or 2 stalkers. And
it's
then
typically
Stargate.
1 gate, then Stargate, or it's kind of a nice follow-up to a failed 4 gate, but probably the better one there is actually just Blink Stalkers anyways. But it's typically 1 gate, then Stargate, unless you're reading some kind of hardcore 4 gate. I know that Axlab actually talked about how he still felt he could hold off a 4 gate by going 1 gate, Stargate, and then 3 gate, but it's a lot harder. A lot harder.
Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of players on the Korean server do the and I keep calling it the 3-stalker push, but they don't build 3 stalkers a lot of the times. Yeah, they'll just go for the 2 gate opening and get their second gas at 19 or 21, something like that.
I think that's just more how they prefer to open when they plan to tech than it is something really specific to Phoenixes.
Well, see, that's one of the reasons I was asking about it, is that, I mean, honestly, opening up 2 gate is just really easy and standard. It just immediately pushes away a lot of issues that you have with 4 gates. It gets you some nice space control around your base. Then you can kind of go, and like build a Robo or build a Stargate. And I didn't know if that was more just a relic of the way that people were playing with their other PvP styles, or whether you think it's fine, or whether you think, no, you should straight up 1 gate, Zealot Stalker, pretend to be 4 gating, kill off the probe, push, like build a pylon at the bottom of his ramp, intending to cancel while going Phoenixes. I think that might be, that's probably what, now that I say it out loud, that seems probably most reasonable. Yeah. God, I should just do that.
If they're giving you map
Solved.
control, yeah. I mean, if you can march your Zealot and Stalker across the map, if they march theirs out too, and then it's just a micro battle, then it's 50-50 that you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Because maybe they're not rushing you, but maybe they sneak a probe in. Because a lot of times people can scout pretty easily, just doing the little roundabout. You send your Zealot Stalker out to pressure, they get a probe in, they see you're not 4-gating. I don't know if it's, I mean, you have to have kind of like a wimpy player who's just going to sit in their base in order to do that kind of aggression. I don't know if it's as solid of a thing as you just made it sound.
Yeah, I mean, if he was going 3-stalker push, he'd be pushing you back.
Yeah. But you said Zealot and Stalker, I think?
Yeah, like if he's going 3-stalker and you went Zealot Stalker Stalker off 1 gate, then he's still going to push you back.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I'm always thinking, as far as those like opening builds up to like, around 22 supply, I'm not even really thinking about what I'm gonna tech to. There's just so many little things that happen up to that point, I think, with how quickly you get your gas and, where you've allocated your chrono boost, and even whether you scouted after pylon or gate. All these things are adding up to different timings being possible. and I'm always just comparing my situation to my opponent's situation and just trying to get out of it in the best way that I can. And I'm not like really thinking about what effect that's going to have on what tech I'm going to do, because I kind of feel like in the end,
It doesn't even matter.
no. I mean, in the end, you're trying to it's still just an opening. I feel like if you are doing like a specific opening from the very start that was going to lead into what you're teching to, that's like a very, very specific build that I haven't even tried to do those. I segment my PvPs into the opening up to, low 20 supply, and then
Actually,
the probes die.
I do want to ask you, like, even though this wasn't part of the strat discussion, but if you could just tease us a little bit about the fact that you've been going for like a lot of speed zealots in the matchup.
Guys,
don't know if
I
that
don't
was-
even, I don't even like to play this much PvP on the ladder. This is
There-
fucked up.
Speed zealots are good, man. They're of course they have limited uses too, especially now that more players are blocking off stuff with gates. They expanded their natural and they just put a bunch of buildings in front of their shit. So your whole timing attack option is gone. And so there are problems with it, but at the same time, I think it's just another weapon to have in the PvP matchup. That maybe it's the new Phoenixes, man. This is the hipster thing. You got to start going speed zealots, because there are some builds that people do that speed zealots just like trash, and people aren't really hip to it yet. So I'm just experimenting it with a little bit. I can't really say I've concluded much or that I have a solid build with it, but when I'm just playing ladder and practicing, if I want to learn something and I'm just in a situation where I can get speed zealots, I'm like, well, let's get some speed zealots and see what the hell happens, and watch the replay and see what could have happened, that kind of shit, and actually try to learn something. So that's kind of the stage I'm still in, but I do have some hopes for it. It does look good in some situations.
It's kind of funny because I think this is the most time we've spent talking about the game itself since like episode 20. It's always filled with so much drama. So, Sean, I feel like you should just do a daily with Tyler, man. Bring him on. Have him on there talking about PvP all day.
It's actually funny.
You guys
Actually
call
funny
it the
because
Snorley.
7 or 8 months ago, I don't think anybody could imagine talking for PvP for more than talking about PvP for more than like 4 minutes too.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, Steven, we got like probably 15, 20 minutes left. So I'm gonna delegate 10 minutes for you to talk about Steel Series, because I know this is something that you wanted to come on and talk about regarding the whole Grubby thing and them not sponsoring Grubby anymore. So why don't you kind of tell people what exactly happened, and then give your thoughts on it, because I know you have a pretty strong feeling on this.
I don't know. Grubby and Steel Series parted ways. Steel Series decided he didn't have enough results, so they didn't want to sponsor him anymore, which is cool. I mean, it happens and whatnot. Basically, I think the problem was, I don't even remember the guy's name. What is it?
Kim Rom?
Kim Rom.
Yeah, Kim Rom, sure. He posted a tweet. It wasn't even a tweet. He made like this little open post, and like the first 3 or 4 paragraphs were spot on. We have to make business decisions, blah 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 blah. And then he posted a tweet from somebody who's like, I can't believe you're not sponsoring Grubby anymore. Like, I'm not going to buy a Steel Series keyboard. And then he started to get like really angry about how, because they're not sponsoring Grubby, people aren't going to buy Steel Series products. And then he started like blasting the community, like, if you guys do this, like, no one's going to want to sponsor esports because now blah 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 blah. And it seemed really like childish, and I thought it showed like a decided lack of understanding about anything having to do with marketing. I don't know, it was just really weird. Like, the guy's been in the industry supposedly for like 11 years or whatever, and he's surprised that when he stops sponsoring a player, people will stop buying products because the player's not being sponsored anymore. I don't know, it was just really weird. And I didn't like he was really aggressive with how he was like blasting the esports community or the StarCraft community for not, I guess, rallying behind Steel Series or whatever.
Yeah, you had very lengthy post on Reddit about the whole thing, where you kind of flesh out your basically what you just said really, really well. But I kind of want to hit on everyone else, Jeff, Tyler, and Sean, and get your thoughts on this. We'll start with Tyler this time to switch things up.
I mean, is there something specifically you want me to speak to?
Just on what Cameron was
Moving from
saying
Tyler.
and what Destiny was. Wait, what?
Hold on. Hold on, man. You know, it's a new year, man. It's a new season for us. We could have started on a fresh page, but
I'm teasing.
I know. I mean, I did read the post that Destiny is talking about, where he's not happy with the community and not happy with that tweet, and he made some arguments that I can't say are absolutely terrible, but I think they're pretty inaccurate of reality. Like, he's trying to be pretty idealistic, I think. He kind of said that, I mean, he wants people to buy the product that they want, like the best products, and like sponsoring a player is, to get attention to your products, something like that.
That's like the dumbest thing ever, though. Like, if people only bought the best product, then why would marketing or advertising exist?
Well, people need to be aware of every product in order to buy the best product. So, like, if you just checked out a Razer keyboard and it was good enough, it satisfied you, then you're just going to buy that. You're not going to shop for other keyboards. So, I mean, you still have to, get your name out there. But I feel like with sponsoring a player, and especially just, I mean, if he actually looks at what people say, like, when the community gives feedback to a sponsor that they like, they specifically say, thank you for sponsoring this thing that was part of StarCraft esports. I bought your shit because you did it. And then the flip side of that is, obviously, if you're not sponsoring anything in esports, nothing's being bought. Like, I don't know what's so bad about just saying that. I mean, I know that it's not exactly what the flips. I mean, it's the flip side, but it's not exactly equivalent. But it's pretty much equivalent. It's like people are buying things from companies that support esports, and when a company stops supporting esports, or a tiny little fraction of it, which is what Grubby is, then they stop buying those products. Just seems very straightforward.
Let me chime in. Someone on Reddit made a really cool point, and I think there's a misconception that's going on here. I mean, I think what Destiny says could be very valid about maybe the fervor and the energy for which Cameron went after the subject, sure. But the sentiment behind it, I agree fully with. There should be like a three-pronged tier for which we regard it. We're either like vehemently against, neutral, or vehemently in support of a product when it comes to this. And I guess vehemently is too strong. We're like against, neutral, or supportive. When they sponsored Grubby, for a lot of people, they went from neutral or against to supportive. And what he's saying is that when they stopped sponsoring him for legitimate reasons, I don't think anyone's like, you should have kept sponsoring him even though we don't understand your business at all. They shouldn't go from supportive to against, where it's not that they're not buying SteelSeries. They're announcing, I will in the future no longer buy SteelSeries in protest because you've dropped Grubby. That's spreading bad messages where it's like, in the future, if a company sponsors somebody, they run the risk of, when their business agreement comes to an end, people are going to be like, you no longer give money to Artosis? Well, shit on you. Like, I'm going to Twitter now. Ain't no way in hell
Apparently
I'll ever buy
Texan.
your keyboard. Like, instead, just be like, cool, thanks for the tenner. Now I'm neutral. Like, I could be a Razer guy or I could be a SteelSeries guy. And I agree with that. I think it's dangerous for people to... I mean, unless Kim Rom comes out and is like, hey, guys, here's the reason why I don't support Grubby anymore. He's stupid and he smells bad, and I wanted his wife to be my own, but she's staying with him. Like, for those reasons, people should come out and be like, holy shit, I'm buying Logitech. But it's not the case. Instead, they came out and said, listen, we love him. He's a close personal friend of mine. We supported him for a year and did things with him he couldn't do by himself. and we're unfortunately going to have to drop him because we want to move in a different direction. So I agree with Steven. Maybe he shouldn't be like, this kind of thing is killing esports. But at the same time, I agree with the sentiment that people shouldn't protest companies because they no longer support someone.
Well, I read that, and I mean, I think there's some truth to that for sure, but I think it's assuming a little bit too much about the people who are saying they're not going to buy SteelSeries anymore. And I didn't read every comment of every person who said they weren't going to buy SteelSeries anymore, so I can't say exactly what they're thinking. But I can't imagine a situation where they weren't neutral before they sponsored Grubby. In fact, they didn't like SteelSeries products. And maybe they were a Razer guy, and they just, 10 years ago they bought a Razer mouse, and ever since then everything they buy is Razer. And because they sponsored Grubby, they checked out SteelSeries. So they went from, pretty much negative, anti-SteelSeries. They weren't going to buy a SteelSeries product because it was SteelSeries, because they like Razer in this case. And then they no longer sponsor Grubby, now they're not going to buy it anymore. I mean, you're not necessarily going from neutral to positive to negative. You might be going from negative to neutral to negative. And
it's just weird to announce that you're going to, whether you think they're doing it or not, to announce I'll no longer buy your product because you don't sponsor this player is a form of punishment or protest.
Well, that's all part of advertising. It's part of marketing. It's part. I guess the problem is that the guy says his job is marketing. It's your job. That's your paycheck. You need to understand the community that you're. And instead of thinking that you can change the entire community with one post, hey, I want all of you to come to the maturity level of a 34-year-old adult. Blah blah blah. That's not your job. You're not going to change the entire community with an angry post. It's your job to understand the community and market to them accordingly. I wouldn't try to, I wouldn't leave my car unlocked every night or my house unlocked every night, under the assumption that everybody in the city is going to be a good person. If somebody breaks in and steals my shit, that's horrible. I'm not going to, start making announcements why are people doing this? It's so bad, blah, blah. No, you act accordingly to the situation. And I feel like somebody in marketing should understand that leagues above anybody else. That in marketing, it's not your job to change the community you're marketing to. It's your job to understand the community and to utilize them in whatever way you want to make the most amount of money possible.
It's a little bit weird that you'd presume to know so much more about marketing than him. That his response to the situation is a form of marketing, and it's there's this big shitstorm. There's a lot of people who are that makes sense. Thank you for supporting Grubby. It's weird to talk about it wow, he fucked up so bad. I don't see this huge spillover about SteelSeries getting shat on. It's instead just people
it's just the tweet handled everything in the worst way possible. He made it sound this is what I got from the tweet. He was I can't believe you guys aren't going to continue to buy our products just because we stopped sponsoring your player. And it's that's why were you ever sponsoring him in the first place? That's the whole point, is to raise awareness of your product. If you stop sponsoring or stop endorsing a player, you should expect the sales to decline. Maybe, so what I see is that's an error in his fault. If you think that Grubby was worth this much, or that, people are not going to buy your products, maybe instead of cutting your contract completely, maybe you should have negotiated a smaller payment term, or maybe you should have handled it in some different way to try to mitigate the damages. The way that he makes the tweet sound, they should have pursued something else with Grubby instead of dropping him entirely and then being surprised when this guy who just had a recent surge of popularity from Homestory Cup 4, all of a sudden there's a shitstorm because of it, I don't know. It just seems as marketing, your job is to understand how this stuff is supposed to play out. That's your job. That's exactly what you have to do. So for him to act all surprised at the community is kind of disheartening.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't think the people saying that are saying fuck you to SteelSeries. What they're doing is saying, hey, I supported Grubby. It's kind of like an after-the-fact support a Grubby, even though it's too late. Because, while they're sponsoring him, the tricky part is, how much more sales is SteelSeries getting because they sponsored Grubby? You can't calculate that shit. That shit's so hard to figure out. SteelSeries just, approximated that because he wasn't getting enough good results and not enough exposure on the scene, well, he probably wasn't worth it for what we were giving him. But if, while they were sponsoring him, they just got hundreds of tweets or thousands of tweets of people saying, thanks for sponsoring Grubby, I love the way he played at this tournament, I bought SteelSeries, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't do that, and then after the fact, someone was well, I was buying SteelSeries, and now you're not sponsoring him, so I'm not anymore. It's not really useful, but it's the same kind of thing. They just have to rephrase it because they're not sponsoring him anymore.
Like all
So,
those statements
like-
that teams make when they stop supporting people, it's like we amicably part ways with Kauai Rice or blah blah blah. Like those are always nice. People see it. Like I hate to dick ride myself, but like the post I made switching to own. Like I know there'd be a lot of backlash, so I'm switching to own. Here's the reasons why. Blah blah blah. Like that kind of a statement is all it would have taken.
Yeah, a marketing guy shouldn't act like the community is wrong. He should just offer his perspective and just say, hey guys, look at it like this. This is how we look at it. This is how Grubby looks at it. We hope you can see it this way. But he was like offended. He was definitely emotional about it, and I don't think a marketing guy should have any emotion except positivity and
Sean,
understanding.
You've been kind of quiet. Do you have any thoughts on what's been said?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's completely reasonable to expect that there would be a segment of the community that would be upset if Grubby loses support. But at the same time, I think it's a bit of an illusion that there's a huge amount of people who would be actively trying to undermine SteelSeries as a result. I mean, SteelSeries took kind of a tremendous risk sponsoring an individual player, and they supported an individual player. And, I mean, Grubby left such a delightful, warm note, It's unfortunate, couldn't renew, blah, 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 but SteelSeries helped me so much in the last 9 months, and I really appreciate him. And, I think given the fact that you don't really get to be the chief marketing officer of a company like SteelSeries if you don't actually care. It doesn't seem like a position that you could get by just sort of like, I just climbed up the corporate ladder one day. So I can understand that there would be a personal sting if someone, made a tweet to him about, oh yeah, I'm going to go buy a competing product. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't really see this huge anti-SteelSeries movement at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was mostly just on the Reddit conversation,
Yeah.
which I feel like that's probably the best place for this, which is still ongoing over on Reddit. You can go
that's
read
another way of
Tyler's-
saying it's 6:30.
Do what?
I could have been like, hey, my leg's on fire. You're like, well, I think it's a good place to tap things out.
Go read Steven's post on it. Go read Kim Rom's post on it. Kind of formulate your own opinion on it instead of using one of ours. But anyways, we're going to take some call-ins. Call-in State of the Game. That's the name of the Skype. We've already got some people here. Sean, I know you have to go pretty soon, so we'll keep this short.
Yeah, I think I can stay for another 5 to 10 minutes, but then
Okay.
I have to go outside and run around and do jumping jacks because I found that doing something really physical before I do a daily helps my focus times a billion.
Gotcha.
So I strongly
All right.
recommend it before your ladder sessions.
We're taking
Take a shower.
Woobly Schnuffle Pops. That's the guy's Skype name. Woobly, how's it going, man? Welcome to State of the Game. What's your question? Oh God, is this really live on 3 all over again?
Yeah.
All right, Woobly, you done fucked up. We're getting our next caller. We're getting Aaron Oh, he hung up. Oh, he's calling back.
Son of a bitch.
Aaron Mayfield, welcome to State of the Game. What's your question? Turn your stream off, guys, when you call. I feel like we have to educate everyone all over
Like
again.
local radio.
Sorry about that. That went a lot quicker than I expected.
What's going on, Aaron? What's your question?
That's what she said. Sorry.
I kind of feel like the current state of things, the 3 Terran matchups are a lot more developed and a lot more figured out than the others, particularly in the mirror compared to ZVZ and PvP. It may be just because in the early days of the game, Korean Terrans were just so strong and were pushing the game so hard and developing so much of the strategy. So first of all, I want to know if you guys have kind of a similar opinion that the Terran matchups are more developed and kind of farther along strategically than the others, and if so, what steps need to be taken to kind of correct that and get the others further developed?
I mean, who wants to? I kind of have a feeling that Terran as a race has the most players that are at a very high level skill of it, so that's why it's maybe the most developed matchup in that sense. But that's my opinion on it. So, Sean, you're gonna speak.
I feel like it's with Terran, it's clear how to explore, and it's less clear how to explore strategies with the other 2 races. Like, for instance, with Terran, take a barracks with a reactor on it. You build Marines 2 at a time out of it, boom, there you go. There's no more decisions to be made once you've done that with the barracks. the decisions to be made with it is when you swap it with a tech lab and give it to a factory and that sort of thing. So I think that's what helps give it that dynamic feel, that there's all this sort of like swapping going along. With like Zerg and Protoss, like Zerg, a lot of Zergs they'll hit their 0 button with all their hatches, and they'll have 30 larvae, and they'll just hold a button. It's hard to know when the granularity appears to be able to say, well, do I make 12 roaches and then a bunch of Zerglings? Do I make 16 roaches and then Zerglings? Do I just hold R and make all roaches? And we're starting to see that the way Zergs explore that is by carefully selecting when they build their geysers to be able to they hold R until they run out of gas, and then they build all the rest of Zerglings, something like that. I mean, even a lot of the most recent Protoss styles and build orders revolve around really clever distribution of chrono boosts. So I kind of feel that it can be kind of hidden with Protoss and Zerg. I don't feel like there's anything design-wise flawed with the races or something that would make them inherently less interesting races, but I guess I'd say that that's kind of the reason why, because I personally do agree that the Terran matchups feel a little bit sexier. You can be a little bit more slick, like you wake up and, make yourself a martini and be like, it's a Reaper Thursday, and go all Reapers and stuff.
Jeff, do you have any thoughts? I know you want to jump in there.
I mean, all I was going to say is that for the 3 matchups, to a certain extent, Terran gets to work with pretty similar things, like bio can be used across the board to varying degrees, I suppose, but for the most part, you can just use the same stuff over and over again. So it's a lot easier to figure those things out, whereas for Protoss and Zerg, different unit compositions, minus the Muta, which now works in all 3 matchups, have to be evolved and worked with. So I feel like Terran just has, to a certain extent, I mean, this is like the most generalized answer in the existence of mankind, but that's part of what's going on, I think.
All right. Well, Aaron, thank you for your call, man.
Hey, thanks, guys. I love the show.
Thanks, man. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
I think I had a really
We
nice
won't
voice.
talk to him later. What am I saying that
That was,
for? That's so rude.
that was an amazing voice. You are totally right, Dr. Destiny.
All right. Let's bring in...
It's like a Red Dead Redemption voice actor,
What's
man.
up, Sam? Welcome to State of the Game. What's your question? You would think.
Oh,
Hey, how's it going, Sam?
My-
Hey!
all right. My question is more about there's a post that TT1 made about the infrastructure monetarily for foreign players and how there is none really, whereas there is for Korea. But okay.
I feel the opposite.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then he also was talking about how a lot of foreigners Koreans are joining foreigner teams, and they're kind of like taking their money. But the point that I brought up in the post that I think needs to be discussed more is that foreign players, I don't think it's necessarily they don't have the right practice infrastructure as much as they don't have the right practice mentality. Because, I mean, I'm associated with some teams, and I've talked to a lot of the like semi-pro foreigners, and their practice is almost completely ladder. Like, they are the most epic ladder warriors of all time, and I think that if they practiced a little more, I guess specifically, or a little more, I don't know, just better. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I feel like if they practiced better, then like they could build their own infrastructure, and then the, I guess, money and the houses and everything could come.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of like weird because in terms of infrastructure, I feel like Korea versus the West has different strengths. I feel like in Korea, there's the training environments that are so nice because, honestly, in America, it's very difficult to have players that are 50 miles. It's just very uncommon. Whereas in Korea, it's very easy to say, hey, everyone, we're moving into this distance, and here you go. And if it fails, you can always drive home. And that's what I think is so nice about those practices. To get that sort of training environment, it's so nice. Even though you might have really incredible personal motivation to practice like 8 hours a day, it's something different altogether when you're sitting down for lunch and boom, some guy just asks you a question about StarCraft and you're just hit with it. But in the West, I feel like a lot of like financial sponsorships and backings are more well structured for players. The whole idea of contracts and flying around and providing a salary. But then again, they don't have that training house like you say. I'm hoping that sort of like both elevate. where it's not just you can either get sort of individual sponsorships from a team, or you can get this big team, or excuse me, it's not that you can either get, support from a team, or you can live in a pro house. I'm hoping it sort of both increases.
Yeah. I think what I really TG1 is saying, like, that it's holding the players back, and I guess what I'm trying to say, the money is not at all what's holding them back. It's more of foreigners just are kind of in general more lazy. Like, I think the other day the Evil Geniuses house was streaming all their practice, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. They discuss everything as they go through, they get everybody's input. I think that's a lot more constructive than just playing 20 ladder games.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I don't think.
Can I hit on this a little bit?
Yeah, and I'll go after you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I've actually talked about this a little bit before. Practicing StarCraft 2, I think there's a lot of parallels you can draw between that and practicing music. For an example, like piano players know this really well. Piano players will get these massive, like 20-page pieces that literally they practice for 6 months, And to practice a piece of music effectively, you can't just run it start to finish over and over and over and over again. It's a waste of time because some parts are easier than other parts. So in a piece of music, you identify the hard parts, you break those down, and you practice them a lot, and then you slowly you practice more and more and more of the piece until you can run down the entire thing, focusing on the hard parts first. People that just grind ladder games, I used to be notorious for this. I still am slightly notorious for this. Like, for me, it was 2 racks. Like, I always died at 2 racks, right? But I'll play 1,000 ladder games. Every 2 racks game I'll die to, but then I'll keep playing through all the other games, And it's great that you're getting the experience, but if you don't actually sit down and, like, focus on what you're having trouble with, then that one area is going to take you a lot longer to work through than it would with a player who's just concentrating. Like, sit down for 2 hours and focus on your one problem. And then after you've got that out, then go back to massing games or whatever. There's that aspect of it, and then the second aspect of it is, regardless of how efficient you practice, you do have to put the hours in. The best people in the world of anything don't play it for 2 or 3 hours a day. People who go to the gymnastics don't just go to the gym, 1 hour Monday, Wednesday, Friday and call it a day. Kobe Bryant, doesn't shoot hoops, in his backyard on Friday night and call it a day. Like, these people, you have to be willing to put in the hours too. I mean, both aspects are equally important, I think.
Everything Destiny said is absolutely true, and I agree with it. The only thing I'd want to add on, and I guess this gets to be made to look like a bit of an excuse, but I guess I'm trying to add perspective to the comparison between Koreans and non-Koreans. Koreans are in pro gaming houses in Korea where they are supported. They don't work jobs. They don't also go to school. Of course, there are the exceptions to that rule, but they are just that. They're the minority. For the most part, those pro gaming teams, that is what they do. In the non-Korean world, there is, of course, the Evil Geniuses house, the Rain house. There's been a couple in Europe. There's been a couple other ones as well. But for the most part, a lot of these guys are going to school like a QXC. They're working jobs. They're doing other things. So it's a little bit more difficult for them to dedicate their time to the same extent that the Koreans do. But then also, while it's true that you shouldn't be playing all your games on the ladder, as Destiny said, there is a benefit to getting experience, grinding games, and exposing yourself to players you otherwise wouldn't practice with. And the Korean ladder is hands down the best for that. So they have the best resources. They're able to commit the most time. And when they do play CGs, they're also playing with players that are significantly better. So, I mean, these are all this is the challenge set before us as non-Koreans. But I don't like it when people are like, well, non-Koreans are just lazy and they're stupid and they're never going to get it done. There are people that have put themselves in a place to get that done, and it's being worked on. It's just not going to happen. Like, North America is not going to be Korea. It's just not going to happen. So I think we should be okay with that.
Tyler, you got an answer?
Well, I love playing ladder, and I love playing single player against the computer. I know I'm the exception, though, so...
Yeah.
Hey! Brother in arms, come on!
Let me say this, though. To speak to Tyler, like, it's what you do with single player and the way you map, like, your strategy and stuff is so meticulous and so goddamn tedious that people should never downspeak that. Like, that is what works for you. And it's a different form of a labor. It's not like a lazier form. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I think I work really well with like the imaginary opponent, and like I can figure out what someone could have. So I don't need to play a custom game and have them do it. Or we play a 10-minute game and they slip up in their execution. They don't do it, and we just threw away 10 minutes. Like I can. I'm not unique in this. A lot of people, if they tried and they spent the time, they could figure out what an opponent could have, and then they look at their own build and see if it can deal with it or not. And you can just do that in single player all day. And sometimes I find that, if you're getting frustrated with playing real games, you can just go back into that kind of analysis mode, and it can be a nice way to switch your gears when practice is getting a little tedious. But yeah, I always like that. I like ladder games too. I love the variety of strats that you see. As long as you're playing good people, if your win percentage is below 60%, then I think you're probably getting productive practice. If you do have a really weak part of your game, or like a build that you just can't beat, then yeah, I think there's nothing as good as custom games. You have to just play it over and over. And when I was a Eastro StarCraft 1 Pro team, we did that. We played a lot of ladder, but when people had problems or when people were preparing for a match, we went into 100% custom game mode. So we got the best of both worlds.
Cool. All right, Sam, thank you for your question. Hopefully we answered it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yep, talk to you later. Why do I keep saying that? We're not going to talk to these guys later. I got to say thanks for the call.
You're so clingy, JP.
Dude, JP is calling. Oh, Sean, you got to go do this fucking daily, don't you, man?
I have to go do the Day 9 daily where we learn to be a better gamer. It's going to be on twitch.tv/day9tv. You should tune in. Bam! Yeah.
All right, Sean, leave. Just screw up my incredible overlay that I spent a whole 5 seconds on. Get out of here.
Bye.
Have a good daily, Sean. Bye.
Thank you, Tyler. And you did earn a spot on Friend Day Wednesday.
Oh.
All right, guys, overlay, I'm sorry. It is going to be fucked. We got one more question. Let's call this guy. Daniel, what's up? Welcome to State of the Game. What's your question?
Oh, awesome. Thanks for taking my call. Just quickly, I want to talk about the IPL event they're holding at South by Southwest.
Sure.
I don't know what you guys thought about it, but to me, when near Toronto area, I went to North by Northwest, and there's a lot of how am I gonna put this, kind of niche crowds who go for not really popular events, but
sure,
all sorts of cool films and bands, and just wondering what you thought about this event. I don't know, it's pretty cool when I first read it.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely put some new eyes on it. I think South by Southwest is the type of community that would be open to something new like this. CGS did their draft event, I think, for their second season there at South by Southwest. I was actually in attendance for that. It was in a weird location though, kind of in a giant trade show, so to speak. I think it was at the South by Southwest Interactive Media thing. They split them up, but I think it'll be cool. We'll see how many people will show up there to watch it live. I think the online audience will definitely show up for that, but that's my thoughts on it. Jeff, Tyler, Steven?
New opportunity for new people to come to StarCraft 2, which is a good thing. I mean, I'm really excited for Stefano versus White Raw. Stefano's actually been silently...
Yeah.
I mean, both, not silently, excuse me. White Raw has been silently dominating, doing really freaking awesome, and Stefano's obviously one of the hottest Zergs in all of Europe, so it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Tyler?
Yeah, South by Southwest is really cool.
Are you going to go up there, by the way? I mean, you're only an hour away.
Probably not. We'll see.
Yeah.
What a guy, JP, excuse me, you're like, you going to come up? It's only an hour away.
I know.
To
no, I have to
how bad it is.
Yeah.
Well, for Texas, an hour away is really nice. Dallas is 5 hours away. Houston is at least 3 hours
I see
away.
what you're saying, Jeff. I was just like, yeah, man, it's like a 50-minute drive. It's not far at all.
I'm just teasing. It's like, you're going to come over for dinner, right? You said you would, and it's really close
So,
nearby, and you probably should.
It takes 30
no.
minutes to get across San Antonio sometimes. Anyways, Steven, you got any thoughts on it?
No, sounds cool.
All right. Staring into the gaze because your webcam's frozen. I like it. All right. Thank you for the call, Daniel.
Thanks for taking my call. See you.
And we will not talk to you later. Bam.
Oh, hey now.
One more.
Oh.
One more call.
One more?
What?
Yeah, one more.
Better be good, man.
One more. Scott, it all falls on you. You are the last question here for episode 60.5.
Oh, hi.
Welcome to State of the Game. Don't fuck it up. What's your question?
So I'm gonna bitch like every other Terran on ladder about TVP. Not really. I just have a question for the other two Protosses here.
Yep.
For late game TVP, I don't really think it's that bad for the 200-200 engagement, and in fact, I think if the Terran trades effectively, because the Protoss army is so cost efficient and expensive, that it's okay for the Terran. But my question is, what do you guys think about like when the Protoss warps in 20 Zealots with warp prisms and stuff, and it's really difficult because the pylons get rid of the defender's advantage?
Get rid of the
I was just
defender's-
wondering, what do you guys think the Terran should do in that situation? Like, because you guys can resupply your gas units just safely while harassing with your mineral supply of Zealots. Just
How do you sleep at night, Tyler?
no, I don't think it's bad. I just wondering because
I think it's bad.
The simple answer is, I mean, the not so simple answer, I guess, is just you kind of handle the things as they go. Like, it is nice to warp in Zealots in the back of your base as a Terran, but those are warp ins away from the actual main army, so they have to do a lot of damage.
Like, when
if they
you
just
guys
let them
trade,
go.
like you lose like all your expensive gas units, and the Terran loses all his M&M ball and his ghosts, and then it's just resupplying. What do you guys think the Terran should do at that point?
I'm sorry, apparently I misunderstood your question. Tyler, you go ahead.
I think the Terran is in a good position there. Like you said, I mean, that's what you said, right? That's good for the Terran because M and small numbers are much more potent than whatever the Protoss warps in. Or if, one Colossus pops out, it doesn't really matter. High Templar warp in, they don't have Storm yet. So I feel like the Terran can actually rally a lot quicker and start doing some damage. I mean, if he's got pylons set up or warp prisms set up, I think you just deal with it. You should have freshly built troops, and they should be able to kill the Zealots. And so you just go kill it. I mean, nothing is going to be coming in from the front because he doesn't have an army. He's using all his warp-ins for the Zealots. Like, that's his army. That's the way he's chosen to attack you. So pretty much you should try to be killing the Zealots in a cost-efficient manner, minimizing how much damage you take. And then if you do that, then the Protoss is going to be screwed for doing all those warp-ins because you should be able to have you should hit like a sweet spot with your army. You don't even have to wait till you're maxed out, but maybe like a 150 supply or 160 supply, and you move out, and the Protoss just won't have their death ball back, and you should be able to do a lot of damage. Or you just hit back with your own drops. But if you don't kill the Zealots efficiently, then you're losing the game. But I don't think it's imbalanced, and you don't either. I know you said that, so I think it's just straightforward.
Sensor towers. I always call them sensory towers, but it's not like they're this huge investment in the mega late game. If you're on 4 or 5 bases, you can actually see everything that's approaching you with 3 buildings, flat out. Yeah. 3 sensor towers.
Yeah.
No warp prism gets within half the map without you spotting it. And if you see a warp prism coming and you move stuff over there, it's actually really good for you to kill it. So there's that, and then also like whenever I use the warp prism, sometimes it feels ridiculously powerful, but it's like positionally based. If the Terran negotiates the game correctly, there's the stuff like Tyler was talking about. Like, you should be able to pick it off. Those warp-ins are being taken away from their main army, etc., etc. But also, like, Zealots don't do well against a mass of Marauder, Marine, and Medevac. Like, if you anticipate it and see it coming, you should be able to mop it up almost absolutely for free. It like, costs position for the Protoss. And a lot of times Protoss players will warp in 20 Zealots, and they'll get annihilated for the cost of 1 Marauder and setting flame to, like, 3 depots. And unless the Protoss took some amazing position in that time, it actually hurt the Protoss player. So those are your answers, just bottom line, I think.
One final comment, too, is that in Brood War and TVP, it's really common for there to just be a million missile turrets, like, everywhere. Like, you couldn't play a TVP past 10 minutes without the Terran basically ringing their base in missile turrets. You had to have missile turrets everywhere, because storm drops were way worse than warping in Zealots. So maybe it could become a thing in StarCraft 2 eventually, where Terrans feel like it's necessary to build a lot of turrets with their extra minerals, I mean, if you're really in late game like that, where you both have huge economies, then I think it would be worth it to throw the turrets up because, I mean, they could drop something, but the warp prism should not survive for long. It should be like on a suicide mission, and that's your main problem is if it survives and keeps bothering you and like gains momentum and you can't get it back, then you're screwed. But the turret should protect you from that.
Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. All right. Thank you, Scott, for the call. You guys want to do one more question?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. One more question. All right. Woobly, Woobly's calling back. Woobly.
Really?
Woobly, you're back on State of the Game.
Can you hear me?
We can. What's up?
All right. Since Artosis is not here, I would just like to say you should all go check out thehandsоmenerd.com. And
Very nice.
on a more serious note, in TVP, I've been having a lot of trouble late game against Protoss getting the right composition. Like, how many medevacs and ghosts I should have compared to, like for Vikings, you would have 3 per Colossus. So I'm wondering how many ghosts and medevacs should I have for my army compared to what he has?
Hold on. Do we need to pull in a Terran ringer to answer this question, Tyler and Jeff?
No.
Okay. I was going to grab
Jeff,
the
you're
Muslim.
gonna take it?
Oh shit! What was the question?
Oh, shit.
Tyler,
He's
you
asking
answer
how
it.
many
I'll
medevacs he should have late game for
I
his
don't
army.
have a great answer. Jeff, you didn't hear the question. I can repeat it for you.
Please do.
Late game TVP, how does a Terran know what composition to build? For example, if he scouts and he sees, a certain number of High Templar, a certain number of Colossus, whatever. He sees a composition. How should he respond to it? Can you give some approximations of how many ghosts, medevacs, Vikings for late game big balls?
Jesus.
In my opinion, like one of the most dangerous things a Terran player can do, and for me it's really reminiscent of what sometimes happens to Zerg players, is they max out on an overly Marine Marauder army. So just kind of make sure as you're getting closer to being maxed out, you keep up the Bearson's whining. I don't know if you guys heard that. Keep up the utility of the Terran army. So you want to have, in my opinion, against a typical Templar, Colossus, Stalker, Sentry, Zealot army with Archons mixed in there, like 4 to 5 Ghosts, maybe a few more, 6, 7. And then you want to have like 12-ish Vikings, and the rest is Marine Marauder medevac. And that's against the hodgepodge of units, but the big question is that you have to maintain throughout the game is like, does he have 3 Colossus, or does he have 8? Because if he has like 8, then 12 Vikings are not going to do it, so you want to skew your Viking numbers higher. But the same thing's true, like if he's got 2 Colossus and he's got 15 Templar, then you shouldn't be scaling upwards of 15, 20 Vikings. So it should be a constant relay game in terms of information as far as I'm concerned. I'd be really interested to hear what you have to say to Tyler.
I mean, I would say, I think you can just start as a base the good old 3 Viking per Colossus thing that you mentioned, and then you could just kind of say, build as many ghosts as you can. Like,
yeah,
it's hard to not use all the ghosts because now that EMP radius is smaller, the ghost can just do so much damage and take away so much energy and do so much sniping, all kinds of things that you need, that I rarely feel like someone over ghosts. The only way you can over ghost is if they did some sick Colossus switch with like 3 robos where they chrono boosted out 6 Colossi real quick, and then but if you're aware of that and you're building the Vikings to match it, then that problem should take care of itself. So I can't tell you what Marine Marauder mix to do, like how many Marines compared to how many Marauders. I think Terran would have to tell you that, but
one thing I want to speak to too.
I wouldn't worry about too many medevacs though. I feel like later game you don't need that many medevacs because it's really going to be like one huge engagement, and the healing doesn't play that big of a role. You're more looking at drops and just a little bit of like maintenance healing here and there from your medevacs. You really need as many shooting units as you can to win that engagement.
So,
real quick, one thing.
I was going to say, the Muslim messaged me and gave me the very late game, having 30 SCVs, 8 medevacs, 10 Ghost is good. Ghosts are also good attack moving versus Zealots. and then just work with it. 4 Vikings per Colossus, 16 max is what he recommends. Anyway,
the last
sorry,
thing I would add to that too, just to speak towards an assumption I would make, is if you find yourself as a Terran player spending a lot of time with your army stagnant, just kind of sitting around, and you're trying to read the composition and then build an army based on that, then I feel like you're moving away from the way Terran should be played. I really feel like Terran should be, once medevacs start popping out and it's starting to head towards the 20-minute mark, roving the map, looking for opportunities to drop on exposed locations, trying to get that concave, like looking for really advantageous fighting positions. So your army should be cultivated towards the Protoss army on the fly with near perfect information. Like, if a situation, I mean, that's ideal is what I'm saying, by the way. That's not the standard. So, of course, there's situations where, like, a drop goes wrong or you get force fielded in and all of a sudden you have half your army smashed. You don't take that half army and then spend the rest of the game trying to pretend it's not half an army. But ideally, I feel like you have pretty good information on what the Protoss player is producing on a constant basis, and you supply your army with the units necessary to counter those. At least when I like play with the Muslim, and that's what I feel during the game. Is he's like, oh, okay, it's 2 Robo Colossus now. I need more Vikings, as opposed to like, wow, he's making a shit ton of charge lots with Double Forge. I'm going to add more Ghosts here as well.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for the question, Wibbly.
Could I have a bit of a follow-up, if you don't mind?
Sure. All allowed.
About how many starports should I have? Like, I know it's about, you should have about 2 and about 15-minute mark.
2, in my opinion, 1 without reactor and 1 with, and then once you get to the late game, it's double reactor for the most part.
All right. Thank you.
Cool.
That's just my opinion, though. Like, I would tweet at the Muslim.
Yeah. Go follow the Muslim or go ask in his stream chat of whenever he's streaming, because he's actually pretty interactive with his audience and always actually responds to him. So thanks again for the question, Wibbly.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys. That's going to do it. It's been 3 hours. I'm incredibly tired. We got to do shout-outs. I will just state before we get going, itmeJP.com will have the VOD. I'm going to try to upload it right as we finish here. It's always going to be on YouTube from now on. Every video episode that we've ever done, starting with episode 29, can already be found there. I'm going to work on getting all the MP3 videos up as well, but that's going to take some time because I have to edit all of them. But anyways, itmeJP.com. Follow the YouTube, subscribe to it, comment on it, blah, blah, blah. It helps with getting sponsors and things like that. So, Jeff, you got some shout-outs?
First and foremost, the obvious. My team, Evil Geniuses. My sponsors, Intel, Monster, King Sniper X Steel Series, Beyond Gaming, and everybody else. I'm really happy to say the game is back. Thank you to Alaska Distillery for sending me 4 wonderful bottles of Liquid Confidence. And it's going to be interesting because the show actually starts at 5 p.m. my time, so I feel a little bit guilty if I get too toasty.
We're going to be fucked, man. I've already been drinking, but like, god damn, we started at 6.
I'll have to do that a few times, but this time I was stone sober. Really looking forward to the new year. Hope you guys are all tuning in. We're doing this the EG stream right now where we're practicing kind of midday. We usually start around 1 or 2 p.m. Mountain Time, which is 1 hour ahead of Pacific and 2 hours in front of Eastern. So do check that out. It's usually on my Twitch as well as Machines, the Muslims, and sometimes LZ Gamer as well as others. My Twitch is In Control TV. My Twitter is EG In Control, and I have a Facebook fan page on Facebook. So send me some likes and follow me, and I appreciate all you guys' support. Thank you.
Tyler, with your new Studley webcam that did not fuck up all episode long. It's incredible.
Nice. Well, my team, Team Liquid, I just want to remind everyone, teamliquidpro.com. We have a really nice site for our team. We always have write-ups, little articles for every time one of our players is participating in an event. We're giving away replay packs every week and other fun stuff, and that's all at teamliquidpro.com. So if you're a fan of any Liquid player, you should check out that site, bookmark it, visit it, see what it has to offer. It's really cool. And our sponsors are the Little App Factory, Razer, and Twitch. So thank you to you guys for making it happen. And just follow me on Twitter. That would be very generous and nice of you.
Actually, don't follow Tyler. He surpassed me.
Yeah,
about this.
Me and JP are in a competition.
Wait, what are you at right now?
I think I'm pretty close to 22.
Oh man, I'm at I'm at 21,685.
I'm at 21,856.
God damn it, Tyler. How does this happen?
Follow me, unfollow JP.
No.
Oh.
Don't do that. All right, Steven, are you in your match? Can you talk? All right, just follow Steven. He streams on Owned, of course. I'm sure everyone knows where he's at. You can follow him on Twitter as well. I think it's Steven.
He actually wanted me to make a special note, too. He wants to thank Steel Series for their sponsorship of wonderful teams.
Yeah.
I don't have you muted, fuckers.
Oh, God. Steven, you got any shout-outs real quick? I know you're in your match.
Dude, I'm in the fucking middle of this micro battle. Holy shit, it's like a 31-minute DBZ. I just fungled all these infestors underground. It's absolutely amazing.
Get him.
Oh, and the GG. Oh, it was sick. Sorry.
There you go.
Follow me on
Look at this
Twitter
badass.
at Steven_Bunnell. Check out my team Quantic is really cool. Yeah, thanks for having me on stage again.
Sweet. Thank you for coming on.
Even though thank you for putting up with my double booking of this tournament and everything too. I really appreciate it.
It's all right, man. I hate you forever. itmeJP.com for the VODs. Follow me on Twitter. Don't follow Tyler. Hopefully next week we'll have Dan to come on and figure out exactly what he named his newborn child. And we'll also have some new, hopefully have a logo and everything like that, because this overlay is god-awful. And that's going to be the show. Thanks for tuning in. Go watch the Day 9 Daily, day9.tv. We'll see you guys later. Peace. Uh-oh. I'm late on the outro. There we go.
No fans talk over here.
Gotta say is it's an honor to play you, Teeler, and let's give the audience the show of a lifetime.
Oh.
Yeah, apparently looks like I was wearing lipstick, by the way. I can't confirm or deny that.
Like literally, like, hey Sean, so what's gonna be the first segment? Like your sponsor? And I was just like,